Well, happy Friday, everyone. You know what that means? Another live lawn care Q&A. My name is Ron Henry, and I'm here to help answer your lawn care questions. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. Super happy to have you here. The way this works is really simple. On your screen, you will see a chat box, and in that chat box, you can enter your question, concern, comment of the day, and I work through them in the order that they come in. Now, sometimes I have the answer, sometimes I do not. But either way, we have an awesome time talking about lawn care and sometimes life. Guys, tonight is a very, very special night. You know, it's always fun when we're able to get someone else to come on the live stream and hang out and share their wealth of knowledge and answer questions. Because while I know you guys do love me to pieces, you know, I'm sure at times you guys want me to change it up a bit. So tonight we're doing that. So you guys know in the past several years, or the past couple of years, the Revolution 26 has been in development by Real Rollers. And, you know, that mower was released this year. It's been pretty well received. And tonight we have Lee Purcell from Real Rollers has agreed to join us for a little bit. So any questions you guys have about real mowing, real rollers, new mowers coming out, all the questions you guys ask me all the time that I can't answer either because I don't know or it wouldn't be my place to say anything, you can ask it tonight. So let me bring Lee in here. Let me move over to the scene that has that and add him now. Lee, how's it going, man?
I'm great, Ron. How are you?
Awesome. I'm good. I'm good. Good. Actually, you know what? I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix my, there we go. So first of all, thanks so much for taking the time to come hang out again on the live stream. You know, we're going to have a bunch of other questions as well, but I know tonight will be largely about real mowing, real rollers, and any events, new announcements, anything coming up that you want the folks to know about. So yeah. So what's been new? What's been new with the company? What's been you know, the Revolution I know was launched, but what else was new with you guys?
Well, it's been a great season and a great year. It's kind of slowly coming to an end, but the release of the Revolution was phenomenal. We've had some tremendous success, more than we expected, and it's been great getting to know even more folks out there that are enthusiastic about their lawns and real mowing. That's been the big thing as a revolution. And then that was the 26-inch we launched in, I guess it was September, almost a year ago last year. So it looks like we've got the designs for the 20-inch all set up. So we'll be launching that this winter, the Revolution 20. So we'll have a 20-inch model. And then we're going to be looking to launch a 10-blade reel so that folks have the option of a 6-blade or 10-blade if they want to cut really, really low. So trying to do it in steps, but make sure we have all our ducks lined up before we put something out there on the market that we haven't tested and fully vetted. So the 26 was a great success, so we keep going.
Nice. Very, very cool. So 10 blade, 20-inch mower, 10-blade reel. Very, very, very cool stuff. Now, I guess for anyone that has a 6-blade, because the other question is going to come out, if they said they want to upgrade to a 10-blade, I guess they'll be able to purchase that reel separately and do that if they wanted to?
Absolutely. It'll actually be a reel assembly. They can have the choice to purchase just the reel, but you can also, we've packaged the reel with the bed knife. Basically, it's an entire assembly. So with 4 bolts, it would be going in just in place of the 6-blade. Also gives them an option to have 2 reels if they would like.
Nice. Very, very cool. Awesome. Awesome. So cool. So guys, you get some announcements right there. New mower, new options for existing mowers, and all that jazz. So guys, as you guys know, as always, we're coming to you live on YouTube as our primary platform, but you can also watch the show on Facebook. And also the folks here on Instagram, if you guys want to, feel free to chime in as well. Here's the thing. We have a guest on right now, and you're not going to see him unless you come over to YouTube. So, if you guys want to see the show or Facebook, then you can actually see and hear what Lee's saying. So I have the audio off. So it's not going to filter through to you guys. So if you want to hear about the conversation on Insta, feel free to come over to YouTube or Facebook. All right, let's get some super chats out of the way. We got some here. We got Neen Nyos Yokohana as our first super chat.
Super chat received.
He just want to say thank you for your insights and support. Thank you so much, sir. I'm glad that the content is useful and that you're getting value out of it. I really do appreciate the super chat. And then next up, we got Mr. Archie Amos. Thanks so much, Archie.
Super chat received.
His evening, young man. Let's do iron tonight. Would you talk about the following evening temps and what it could mean for us Bermuda grass enthusiasts? Thanks. Yeah, so great question. So, as far as temperatures beginning to fall, we are in late August, about to go into September, and the snap of cooler weather means that soil temps are going to drop as well too. And what that means is the window for you getting your pre-emergent out is really opening up. When it comes to your fall pre-emergent, Archie, you really want to, if you're trying to get ahead of tough to control weeds like Poa annua, you really want to have the pre-emergent in the soil prior to temperatures or soil temperatures getting in the mid 60s. So what I tend to do is whenever soil temps are in the low 70s trending cooler, I get my pre-emergent out. And the one that I recommend if you got cool warm season turf grass is Spectacle Flow. It is not cheap, but it is not cheap for a reason because it is by far, in my opinion, the best. But yeah, with the cooler temperatures, you definitely want to get on your pre-emergent program. I'll tell you what I do. I mean, while I tell you guys that the low 70s is a good time to apply your pre-emergent, what I've been doing for the most part is early September. So the first week of September, so like Labor Day weekend, next weekend would be good for it. Or not Labor Day? Is it Labor Day weekend? Right, Nick? Right, Lee? I think so. Labor Day weekend is next weekend, I think. It's a holiday. There is a holiday next weekend.
Yes.
I think it's Labor Day. All right. At any rate, the first weekend in September is when I typically do mine. That's what I will be doing next weekend. I'll be getting my application of Spectacle Flow out. So Archie, if you've not yet ordered your pre-emergent, any of you guys that are watching have not yet ordered your pre-emergent or got that going, you're really going to want to do that. I sent an email out today, or better, more accurate to say, the team sent an email out today talking about pre-emergent, giving you some options for both warm and cool season turf grass. And I'd highly, highly recommend getting some pre-emergent on order so you can get that into the soil and prevent weeds. It is far cheaper to keep weeds out of your lawn in the first place versus controlling them after the fact. So hope that helps, Archie. Thank you so much for the super chat. And I think you're going to be our show sponsor based on what I'm seeing right here. And we have one more super chat. This one is from Mr. James Smith.
Super chat received.
He says, Ron, local news in Raleigh area, the invasion of armyworms. Can you share with the lawn fam like things, the active ingredient, chlorantraniliprole, bifenthrin, etc.? Yeah, so great question, James. Yeah, it's funny how that works, right? Like a few years ago, we had issues. We had a problem with army worms across the country. It wasn't the year before. It was probably 2 or 3 years ago. It was really bad, and stuff tends to happen in cycles to where now this year they are bad again. What I would recommend as far as an insecticide for controlling armyworms is a insecticide called acelepryn. The active ingredient is what you mentioned there is chlorantraniliprole. I like it for a couple of reasons. One, as far as a an insecticide that is as eco-friendly as they can be, acelepryn is a really great choice in the sense that it is really easy on pollinators, doesn't harm invertebrates like earthworms, and it's very effective against a broad range of insects. So if you, pretty much any kind of turf caterpillar, so sod webworms, armyworms, you started getting into grubs, billbugs, even some of the more lawn damaging insects that we don't necessarily get here in the southeast, but tend to be a problem in different areas throughout the country. Acelepryn will take care of it. So I'd highly recommend this. This is what I use personally on my lawn. The rate that I use is 0.20 ounces per thousand. Got a handy dandy measuring cup built in that makes it really easy. And yeah, I would use acelepryn over bifenthrin. That's what I roll with. If you guys are interested, I'll link it in the chat, and hopefully that helps. Great question, James. Really do appreciate it. And Archie, for your generous contribution. So you are a show sponsor, your name and lights for whatever that means to you. All right, cool. So back to the show. So Lee, question for you. So the new mower's out. It's getting a lot of uptake as far as that goes. For people that are new to reel mowing, and I think some of your customers, not a lot of it, some of your customers are people that are new to reel mowing. What are some important expectations or ideas to have whenever you transition from, say, rotary mowing your lawn to reel mowing your lawn? Even though you got a great mower like the Revolution, what are some things that people should expect whenever they make the jump?
It's a great jump to make, number one. Night and day difference. Someone explained it to me the other day as it's almost like going through a drive-through car wash versus getting a hand wash. It's a difference. Both get them clean, but it's definitely a different look. The biggest thing, some of the folks that are new to reel mowing, getting into reel mowing, I think probably the top three things would be one, understanding that you're going to have to mow the yard more often. That's probably rule number one, and the biggest expectation is to really have some of these lawns that you see that are just beautiful. I mean, just perfectly maintained. It doesn't happen by accident, and they're absolutely mowing probably two times a week, depending on if they're using PGR or not, but maybe more than that even. The frequency of mowing makes such a difference, and I know you've talked about this a ton of times. It's really those folks that are willing to go out and mow at least 2 times a week, probably 3, really get you where you need to be. And guilty as charged. Sometimes it can be a struggle. And we all learned the hard way that it takes a whole lot longer to mow your yard if you let it get away from you with a reel mower than if you're staying on top of it. So I think that'd be the biggest expectation. The other thing is really believing that, yes, you can kill your lawn, but scalping and doing a height of cut reset will look ugly for a week. But long term, it's really what you need to do to make that grass thrive and really have a really rich green grass. So I think that sometimes people are fearful about the whole idea of scalping their yard, especially in the Bermuda world, because it turns completely brown for about a week. But once they've done it and they see how thick the grass comes back and how healthy the lawn is, just takes once. But plenty of times we hear people say, well, I'm at 2.5 inches and I'm going to bring it down slowly. It's like, you can draw this out for 2 months, or you can just nip it and go ahead and hack it.
Right.
Take the rotary down as low as you can go, and then bring the reel mower down. If you can take it off as much as you can at a time, but sometimes it takes 2 or 3 passes and bringing it down 1/4 of an inch at a time. But to draw it out over time, I just think that's delaying the inevitable. And the third thing is reel mowers do take a little more hands-on maintenance or adjusting than, let's say, a rotary mower. You need to be comfortable. In my mind, you have to be one of those folks that something breaks at your house and something minor. Let's say the door handle won't turn. You're not the person that calls the handyman right away. You look at it and try to say, I think it's just a little bit tight here or loose here, or I'm going to just replace the door handle. You don't have to be a full-out mechanic, but to be familiar with adjusting a reel to a bed knife, which is super easy on the Revolution, you still have to be willing to check the mower and make sure it's ready to go each time you mow. It's not like a rotary where you can just go.
Right. Yep. I'd say that. Yeah. I mean, it is a different it's a different world. It's more work. It's more, you have to be more involved as far as keeping the equipment running well to get the best results. And yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well as far as making that jump. It's worth it, absolutely worth it. It's just you have to know what you're getting into. That's why I always tell folks, whenever you're moving from rotary mowing to real mowing, thing one is how much time do you have, and really, like, do you enjoy mowing? Do you like to spend time on your lawn? And then once that's answered, now we can move into the mower and everything that goes along with it. So great stuff.
You have to love it. You have to love wanting to mow your yard. I said this before. My wife calls it my therapy. You have to want to go out there and when you get off work, not be like, oh, I have to mow the yard. Oh, maybe this time of year you start to think that way. But you have to want to be eager to want to go home and mow the yard and have a little time to yourself, whether it's listening to a book or music, or I prefer to listen just to the engine noise. It's white noise to me, and I love that feeling of seeing a beautifully cut lawn, and it makes my day, to be honest. Sit back and have a iced tea or lemonade or a beer, whatever your fancy is, and say, you know what, I've done this. My hands did this. It's pretty sense of pride.
Nice. All right, cool. All right, so we have some other comments here. We got Gene DeWolf saying, string of 60-degree nights in Ackworth. I blanket sprayed first round of 1/10 of an ounce of Spectacle because the yard is very bad patch of POA last winter, spring. Push Bermuda hard this summer with FERT, mowing, and water. I'd rather see a few small bare spots this winter rather than blanket spraying POA annual. That's a good idea. I mean, I've tested both, Gene, and I got to tell you, like, it's if you have the time, because I was actually talking to a guy that I know that he has a spray business, and he does 2 applications. He's doing this year, and he typically doing this year what I did last year, which is spraying next week and then again in December. So yeah, you're right on the ball. It is far easier to keep POA annua out of your lawn than have to go after it over and over and over again, to try and get rid of it, because it's a pain. It's a pain to deal with. All right, let's see here. He says, Trigger Fan says, hey Ron, I got my hands on 2 bags of 007 pendimethalin last season, but I've never heard you talk about it. Can I use it for fall application, or should you use prodiamine or dithiopyr on Bermuda? Yeah, so you can. I don't really talk about pendimethalin. You tend to see that pre-emergent a lot. Scott's is really a big fan of using pendimethalin in their pre-emergents. I just primarily stick with prodiamine, dimension, dithiopyr, or indaziflam, so Spectacle Flow. What's in Spectacle? I don't have any direct experience with that particular product, but if you already have some, then roll with it and see what you get. I mean, as long as you apply it, as long as your timing is correct, I imagine you should get a pretty good result. So yeah, we also don't carry it on the store, so it's not like it's not, you remember a big part of the Golf Course Lawn Store of how it started is I used to use fertilizers from Lesco, but the problem is that not everybody has a site one nearby to be able to get it. And if you go back many, many moons, this is a large part of why the Golf Course Lawn Store exists, because I wanted to get rid of that, to where no matter where you are in the country, as long as where you live, we can ship the fertilizer to you. You can, you pretty much can always have a consistent program. So hopefully that helps, True Gator Fan. Next up, we have... we got a question from Instagram. It says, what is the best thing to do about weeds when seeding new Bermuda? From what I hear, you just live with it. Yeah, pretty much. So whenever you're trying to establish a new lawn from seed, the conditions, here's the problem. The conditions that make for a lawn growing in really well from seed also make great conditions for weeds to take root as well. So what you would do is allow the new lawn to grow in, allow it to establish, and then either pull the weeds as you go along or deal with them after the fact. Once the lawn is established, you're regularly mowing it. What I would not recommend is you have a brand new lawn that's starting to grow in and you get out there and you smack it with herbicides because you're trying to get rid of weeds that are there. So just realize that that you have to kind of pick what's important to you at the time. You know what I mean? So if what's important is getting the lawn to establish, then you're going to live with weeds for a few weeks, maybe a month or so, and then you'll be able to go back and clean that up. It's like lawn care is like most things in life. You tend to not get everything you want all at the same time. You have to kind of pick what's important, focus on that, and then move on to the next thing. All right. Next up, we got Cedric saying, Big Ron, there are individuals who just enjoy the Friday Night Live just when watching high school football, but I enjoy Friday Night Live mow, turfs up for now, stripe action forever. I appreciate that, Cedric. Awesome. Jackie Bear saying, have an excellent stream. I holler. And guys, definitely, if you guys have questions for real rollers, I'm going to prioritize those. So make sure you have any questions for them around the mowers or anything like that. Feel free to drop that in the chat. Lee, if you see any, let me know, and I'll hunt it down, and I'll get them on the live stream. And Reggie, just be a member. What's going on, Reggie? And there's a good question here. Ninos Yohana says, Ron Henry, for Midwest cool season grass, how should we adjust your calendar? I oversee with Kentucky Bluegrass Midnight. There's not really a ton of adjustments you really have to make, Ninos. The big thing is that you'll see in the calendar, I recommend late this month, early next month, doing pre-emergent. If your plan is to overseed in the fall, which is a common thing for people with cool season lawns, then you would not want to do that. If you're planning to overseed, don't do pre-emergent because you're going to be working against yourself. Outside of that, the calendar still holds. You'd fertilize based on your soil test results. You'd be able to use Primo a little bit later into the season than we are with warm season lawns because your lawn's going to keep growing longer. But for the most part, the calendar is written such that it applies. It'll work well on both cool and warm season turf grass. As another aside, if you are looking for what fertilizer is a good fit for your lawn, you can also use the tool that's on the golf course lawn store. So I'll show you here really quickly. If you go to resources, actually, if you just go to the homepage, and then you go to get started. If you go in, it's gonna ask you how big your lawn is. We'll say we got 4211, whatever, right? And then it's going to ask you whether you have cool season or warm season turf grass, because based on that, the fertilizer suggestions will change. And then you go through and answer the questions, and it will tell you based on the time of year what fertilizers are a good fit for your lawn based on the questions you ask. So this is a way of getting guidance that is cool season and warm season lawn specific, but it still all jives with what you see here in the application calendar. So this is also going to work for both cool and warm season turf grass. So I hope that helps. Ninos, if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. All right, so Lee, as always, announcements. I know, the plan was to have, or there's talk about having the turf park party earlier this spring. We wanted to get together. It wasn't going to happen because of, I don't know, you're launching a new mower and there's all goes along with that. So what I guess as far as that goes, any announcements you want to make for folks regarding that? I think we've got people in the live stream now where we can actually do that.
No, super excited to do our turf park party on September 14th from 12 o'clock till 3 o'clock here at Real Rollers. You've been there before. It's so much fun. I believe we had almost 200 people last time come and go. At one point, we probably had close to 100, 150 people out there on the turf park using different lawn mowers. A lot of like-minded people. I mean, it really is a good time. We have food, we have drinks, we'll have football on. I prefer the fall season, so there's at least football on TV to watch. And we purposely made the turf park party at hopefully a time that doesn't really conflict with too many big games. We kept our eye on that, and that's kind of strategically why we went with September 14th. For those folks here in the area close to us, there's a lot of Georgia fans. I'm an Ole Miss fan. So, but for the Georgia fans, they're playing at Kentucky away at 7:30 that night. So I thought, you know what, it's a good Saturday to have people out there. The weather hopefully will accommodate us. But yeah, it'll be a great time. We'll have every brand of reel mower, McLean's, True Cuts, Trimmers, Greens mowers, Revolution, Rollux, you name it, Swordman, Alette. We'll have them out there for people just to mess around with and play with. It's not every day that you get to mow using all these different mowers, and then number two, to mow on different types of grass. So at our turf park we have the El Toro zoysia, which is the fat blade zoysia, kind of like an Empire. And we have our Xeon zoysia, which is that thinner blade zoysia, and then we have Tiff Tough Bermuda on our third plot with a little bit of a slope and some curvatures around some flower beds so that you can really feel how each mower acts. And hopefully it helps folks realize, what mower would be best for them depending on their slopes, their budget, and then also, the size of their yard. So it's really a cool time. Can't wait.
Nice. Very, very, very cool. Nice. So, so 12 to 3, September 14th. Nice.
September 14th is Saturday. Yep. And we'll be putting an email out. I was supposed to today, but the day got away from me. So hopefully this weekend we'll get the email put together and blast it out to everybody.
Nice. Very, very cool. All right. Next up, we got the notorious Zaz says, good evening, Ron. I am in Louisiana and I have 2.419. I'm considering mixing pennant magnum with spectacle flow for fall pre-emergent to help with sedges. Would these mix okay together? I'm not gonna. I can't do that. I can't say go dogs. Okay, fine. We'll say that. I don't know. I don't know. This is a good question. I don't know if spectacle and pennant magnum will mix nicely together. I've never actually done it. I would check online and just see what other folks have done. I've never actually tested mixing those. If you're gonna do it, I would stick to the lower end of the application rate for spectacle. So 1/10 of an ounce over 1,000 is what I would do if you're deciding you're gonna mix any other pre-emergence along with it. But I can't tell you from experience how well that would work, because I've never actually done it. At any rate, if you decide to try that, you run both of them at the lower end of the application rate, because it really doesn't take much spectacle to get a good result. And if you're also using pennant magnum, I would just go low on the rate. Don't go whole hog on your first go around. Colin says, also curious if you got my email regards the YouTube monetization process. I will. Yeah, I just got the email, Colin. I'll look at it and I will be able to. I'll email you. Tell you what, after the live stream, because I've been monetized for a while. I'm not sure if the requirements have changed, but I will look and see. I know before it used to be 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 watch hours within a calendar year, within a 12-month period. I don't know if that's still the case. So if you've done those things, one, you got 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours within a 12-month period, then you get eligible for AdSense. But again, it may have changed. It's been a long time since I've looked at it. All right. Next up, Colin says, what's up, Ron? Hope your Friday has been well. Tuning in for some good lawn care talk. Missed the past few couple weeks, but I'm here. No worries, man. You're here. You are here. And then next up, True Gator fans, can you explain the difference between the three? Yeah, so pendimethalin, I'm not super familiar with a True Gator fan. I can tell you the difference between prodiamine and dimension and dithiopyr. The biggest difference, what I found between testing those two, is prodiamine tends to last, or I find it tends to be effective a bit longer than dimension does. So for prodiamine, 4 months of coverage is a pretty good expectation, whereas dimension, I'd say three to four is along those lines. What I've seen. I mean, prodiamine just has to last a bit longer. Dimension is a better choice, in my opinion, for a spring pre-emergent. Reason being is that it has the ability to kill or to control young crabgrass. And crabgrass isn't really a thing for the most part in the fall. It's really more a spring weed. So if you had a choice between using prodiamine or dimension in the spring, I would opt for dimension. So for example, if you have a cool season lawn, because you have cool season turf grass, you guys can't get spectacle flow because it's for warm season grass. So what you could do then is use prodiamine, a couple of split apps of prodiamine in the fall, and then in the spring, rotate to dithiopyr, to dimension, because one, it's a different pre-emergent, and then second, it's frankly just better suited as a spring pre-emergent than prodiamine, if that's what you have to rely on for your fall weed control. So hope that helps, sir. No Names up next is, hey, Ron, fellow lawn enthusiasts, looking forward to some great turf talk. Let's get those likes up. Yeah, guys, we got 103 people, only 46 like. What gives? Hit that like button. It's absolutely free to do. Costs you absolutely nothing. I'd really appreciate it. Hit the like button. Spread some love and join the world. All right. Rick Thibodeau says, howdy from hot Texas. What's going on, Rick? And Robert Rainey, the man, he's in the house. He says, good evening, everyone. What's going on, Robert? And then Aaron Pate says, hey, Ron, I left a used bag of fertilizer outside in the heat and it started to clump together. Can I use it or should I throw it out? I would throw it out. Sounds like moisture got into it. I wouldn't. What do you think, Lee? I mean, you'd probably throw it out. I guess you wouldn't.
I was laughing. I'm not cheap by any means, but just because of the effort, I'd probably bang that bag around the concrete a little bit and see if it breaks up.
All right. Or you could do
Not the answer. I still, again, I'm more of the mechanical side of things, not the chemical side.
I got you.
Bang the bag and let's see if it rolls.
See if it works? Okay. There you go, Aaron. I would throw it out. But either way, you give it a shot. Next up, we have Reggie Zimmerman. He says, oh, Lord. He says, hey, Ron, and all, a really huge fan. Love your enthusiasm for the craft. Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate you watching. And then for Lee. Okay, Lee, get ready. Is your question. And here's the thing. When Jason asks a question, it's normally some huge ask. He wants the sun, the moon, the stars. I haven't even read it yet, but I just going to cue you up. If he's asking, get ready for the pain. He says, hey, Lee, I love my revolution. recommend it to everyone. Please, please, he said twice, release a real roller verticutter that's also 26 inches. It would be a perfect companion. So he wants like a standalone machine that's a verticutter. What say you?
Is he looking for a cartridge or is he looking for a standalone verticutter? I don't
Sounds
know.
like a standalone verticutter is what he says. I mean,
That's something that we definitely could look at. It's not something that's in the works. We have two projects we're working on kind of behind the scenes. One is around backlapping, make things a little bit easier for everybody. We're going to try to come out with something that's a little easier than holding a drill and make it a little bit more effective for folks at a price point in a size that makes sense. Historically, those things have been $900 to $1,000 and bulky and heavy. And, I believe they were designed back in 1924. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement. So we'll be looking to get a backlap kind of companion or machine to make things a little bit easier on folks. That's one of our big projects we're working on this winter. And then as relates to verticutters or things like that, we're looking at potentially putting in some cartridges in place for the Revolution. But it's, again, my primary goal right now and our teams is to make sure we make the very best reel mower. That is spot on number one priority. We do have the ability and the structure of the machine to expand to do something like that. But for now, we're really focused on trying to make sure we have the 20-inch mower and supporting the customers that are out there, because there's a lot of them out there. It's a lot of customers, and my goal this winter is to continue to make content to make it really easy for folks to do some of the simple adjustments and answer some of their simple questions. So that's the primary goal. So Jason, I know it's kind of a long answer, but verticutter probably won't be 2025. Some of the things on the horizon we need to push for.
nice. Well, you guys heard? You heard cartridge system. You heard backlapping accoutrement. So you're getting some things, Jason. It's a good point, because I don't know that as far as a standalone verticutter with like a grass catcher, kind of like what the Revolution is, I don't know of anyone that does anything like that. So it could be cool. The problem with it is it's kind of a niche. It's kind of a niche piece of equipment in the sense that you have to, I don't know how well it would sell or how well it would do, but there's no one that I know of that has one. Most of the time they're part of an attachment system. So yeah, it's an interesting idea. All right. Next up, we have Mr. Greg Line. He says, I hear armorworms are in full effect right now. How can we tell if we have them or not? So you can just take some soapy water and pour it on the lawn. You'll see them. If you look at the lawn, you'll begin to see the lawn move. It's pretty obvious when you have armyworm damage. And so a bucket of soapy water, that's thing one. And then two, if you just notice over a relatively short period of time, over a couple of days, your lawn is just changing. You're seeing it go brown. You're seeing a lot of like really fast damage. That's a sign of armyworms. It can be, because they are very aggressive. Compared to grubs, armyworms can just destroy a lawn far, far faster. So look at that, Greg. I would, again, if you've not put out a fall insecticide as yet, Acelepryn is an excellent choice. It's what I would recommend. And that's going to keep armyworms at bay. Either if you have them actively, it'll take care of them. And as far as preventing a problem, it's also good for that as well, too. So would highly recommend Acelepryn. All right, next up is Mr. Jimmy Miller. He says, evening, Ron and Lee. Since California Trimmer has introduced their catalyst, might we be seeing a cartridge system for the Revolution 26 soon?
Good question, Jimmy. Kind of touched on it, but I feel confident that it won't be in 2025. I can tell you that. It probably will be something that'll be our goal for 2026, to be fully transparent. There's only so many resources and time and testing, and all of these things need to kind of be engineered, tested, then put into production. I've learned so much about production and manufacturing and design that I know it takes a little bit longer than I ever hope. So by saying that it would be something that we look at 2026, that would really be a realistic goal that I think we could do. It's also understanding the market and how many people truly value that. I know a lot of people do like the cartridge system, but it also can also get costly as well. The more expensive you get, the smaller your market gets. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's already pretty expensive to get a reel mower as it is, and it's not same as a rotary. But all of a sudden, you put cartridges with a reel mower, you're looking at something in the $3,500 to $5,000 range, and that's not always an easy pill for people to swallow. Maybe over time it is a little bit easier because you can keep adding cartridges. But I'll be interested because we are a trimmer dealer. If it's the same thing that went with the Swordmans when we sold the Swordmans and the cartridge system, it seemed like there were really two big winners. It was the Scarifier, which is kind of like a dethatcher, and the Verticutter. Not too many people bought the rotary brushes, and almost everybody bought two reels. And I think that's what the advantage is having multiple reels so that if anything ever happens to one, or you need to rotate one, or keep one as a scalping mower, or a 10 blade and a 6 blade, I think that's probably our first and primary goal over the other attachments.
Nice. That makes sense. Yeah, because then your mower's never really down, right? You can send one in, get it sharpened. And here's a good question. I know when that does happen, whenever the interchangeable cartridge system happens, as far as getting the mower sharpened, is that something you guys are considering perhaps doing, or is it you think are gonna have like a list of people or a list of like vetted grinders, kind of using the grinder finder to be able to sharpen their mowers, or what? Any thoughts on that at this point, or too early to say?
It's definitely it's definitely something we're looking at. The goal would be able to do the reels and sharpen them here at our shop. I've talked to a few people, some people that you know, Ron, and it would be something that'd be convenient for customers because as we grow our retail business, and what I mean by that is folks were just walking in the door, almost like Ace Hardware, has easily quadrupled this year. What we used to have maybe 10 customers come in a week, we probably have 10 to 20 customers coming in a day. So folks are coming in looking for parts because we keep everything in stock. We don't drop ship anything, which is why we can get things to people so quickly. We keep all of our trimmer parts, all of our Truco parts, all of our McLean, Revolution, Sorbin. We keep every single part in-house. There's not a single item that we keep that we drop ship. And that's really important to me. So local service shops come by here a good bit. So folks that do reel servicing will come and get reels and bed knives and parts for the mowers that they're repairing. And then local customers who are a little bit more handy stop in a whole lot to get parts or to demo mowers. So I think the biggest question that we get probably, sadly, like 3 or 4 times a day is, do you guys service reels or do you know where I can go? That's probably one of the most common questions that we get. So we want to help feed that group of folks. And geographically, we're in a really good place here in Atlanta that kind of puts us between the whole north section of Atlanta, the suburbs. And there's a lot of reel mowing folks in this area. So it makes it convenient for them as well to be geographically close.
Nice. Very, very cool.
So I don't have a concrete answer on when, but it's definitely something that makes too much sense not to really pursue.
Makes sense. That's a good idea. Yeah. And quality control, that kind of thing is just better if you guys are doing it. So it makes a lot of sense.
I think I found the right person. I don't know how to do it. I'll be the first one to say. I don't know how to run a relief grind onto a reel. I've seen it many times, but it's definitely an skill, and you really want to find somebody that not only offer the service here, but offer the best service. That's critical. We always want to try to offer the best, not just a halfway job. So we want to make sure we get somebody that's really got experience in that field.
Nice. Very cool. All right. So next up, we have Mr. Stephen Wynn in the house saying, "Happy Friday, y'all. Hit that like button and enjoy." I appreciate that, Stephen. And Rich70 saying, "Hey, y'all. Cheers." Reggie Zimmerman has a question. He says, "My wife and I were talking about your videos and wanted to know how long it took for you to get your lawn in the amazing shape it's in. Beautiful." I'd say most of the heavy lifting happened in the first couple of years, Reggie, and then it's just been a slow refinement on top of that. So I've been working on the lawn now. I have the YouTube channel coming up on, this is like the 9th year, season 9. Episode as far as I'd say taking the lawn from 0 to like standing out really well, the first 2 to 3 years is really when that happened. And then again, in the last couple of years, it took another step when I started changing up or adding additional cultural practices like regular verticutting and turf raking and that type of thing. So it's been an evolution. It's not any one thing. I mean, you ask me, I'm still not really happy with it. It looks good most of the time, but when you stare at something all the time, all you see is what's wrong with it. You don't really see the good points. So I'd say 2 to 3 years from like nothing to where it is now. And that was slow. I mean, that was really slow. If you look at like the golf course lawn series, Alex's lawn, we went from like a lawn that's like representative of most lawns to an amazing lawn in like 90 days because we had it figured it out. Knew what the recipe was at that point. So it wouldn't take you that long. And typically in a season, you can transform a lawn to where you wouldn't even recognize what you had at the beginning of the season, at the end of the season from what you started with. It just depends on how picky you are. But I mean, in 90 days, you make a huge difference in your lawn. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Appreciate the
But you know,
comment.
he wasn't asking me.
He wasn't asking you. Oh, he might have been asking.
Just teasing you.
Oh yeah, well, that's a good point. How long has it taken you to get the turf park to where it is now, Lee?
I thought he was talking about the house. No, it's been like 3 years, but it's not on your level. We have people that come out here and do a lot of testing, so sometimes we try to prove a point by scalping certain areas or just tearing some things up just to help customers understand what a mower can and can't do. But no,
Mm-hmm.
I was just teasing. At first, when I read it, I thought, no, he's definitely not talking to me. He's talking about Ron's yard.
Nice. All right. Rad says, "Hey Ron and crew, happy Friday. Would it be okay to apply tenacity at the time of seeding, or should I do it a few days before new grass seed goes down if I pre-germinate my KBG seed?" Yeah, it'd be fine. So here's what I would say, Rad. If you're looking to use tenacity as a pre-emergent, applying it prior to the grass seed going down, in my opinion, makes more sense. If you're using it as a post-emergent herbicide, then it doesn't really matter because you're not going to be watering it in, because the new grass seed isn't going to, there's not going to be any leaf. It's not going to really negatively impact it. So it really depends on which way you're using tenacity. So if you're still here, like chime in and I can answer the question a little bit better. But long and short is it shouldn't really matter. You should be able to do that what you're suggesting without issue. All right, Greg Lyon is up next. He says, "I'm getting lots of leaves coming down. I was curious if those will cause my reel mower blades to get dull." I mean, it's not grass. It depends on the leaves, but I mean, as far as like leaves, Lee, what do you recommend? You recommend people mow over leaves, or what are your thoughts?
Try not to. I mean, when I say that, it's not going to damage the mower, I don't believe. And I say I don't believe. It's never done it to my mower. But will it dull the reel? I can't say that I could have a test where I said, it was because of leaves. But I think the biggest challenge is that I usually get a poorly cut grass. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they get wedged in between the reel and the bed knife coming across, and I've seen where it almost looks like you skipped a cut, even though you didn't. You ran right over it. The leaves sometimes if they get under the roller and then under the bed knife, they almost shield the grass from being cut, and then the wind of the reel then moves that leaf, and all of a sudden you have a grass section that wasn't cut. So I think that's the bigger issue in my mind that I've experienced. I have a big magnolia, two of them in my backyard, and they put down those monster leaves, and I experienced that a good bit with those. So I have to blow them before I mow.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we have a recent blog post. I'll pin that in the chat. Mulch or rake leaves, because it's that time of year where people are trying to consider that. Like, what are the pros and cons of each way? So that blog post was released last week, I think. So yeah, if you're interested, I will pin that as a comment there in the chat, and you guys can check it out. It's a short read, and you can you guys can get some value out of it. I mean, the long and short of it is, I am not a fan of running over anything with a real mower other than grass. Like, if you want to keep your mower nice, you want to keep it sharp, you want to get the best cut, mow grass with the mower. Don't mow really anything else. So sticks, small sticks, small twigs. Could a real mower go over them without issue? In most cases, yes. But I mean, it's not grass. You are taking the chance of damaging it or just introducing more wear. And at a minimum, you are going to you're not going to get as good a cut whenever you're running over trash other than grass. So for that reason, I just recommend against it. All right, let's see here. RC says, "Evening, Lee, and new news on potential cartridges for our systems." I think he says it's not till 2026 at
That's
best.
not what he's saying. The real assembly will be out this winter.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll have the real assembly where you can exchange that. That'll be out this winter. We just received our prototype of packaging and things like that. Just haven't really released it yet. I've learned that I need to get inventory in-house before I start talking about selling something and putting something on the website, because it's a little stressful when you owe people back orders. So I want to make sure that we get those products in-house, give people a live date, and then folks that own the Revolution will then have the ability to come out there and order a real mower. And we have a video to put together so everybody knows kind of what it entails, because it isn't a cartridge system. I want to be clear. It doesn't take 5 minutes. It doesn't take 2 minutes, which, like maybe a Swordman or an Allet, like your cartridge system. I mean, what's it take? 3 or 4 minutes tops, or is it less?
To swap a reel, to swap a thing, a cart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, a
A
minute.
minute?
I mean, if you have to take one out, put one
Yeah.
in, a minute. It's not bad.
Okay. So this will be more of a 10 to 12 minute process
Okay.
to exchange the reels. But it isn't a cartridge system, but it's pretty darn simple. So we're going to first put that video out, especially on our Revolution owners page, get some feedback from all the owners. And that's a really cool page that we have for just our Revolution owners on Facebook, where Archie's a legend. He makes me laugh every time I see his comments. So I have much respect for Archie. He cracks me up. But to that extent, we will have the assemblies out here in the next month or so. So we're excited about that.
Very, very cool. Fairway Bermuda is in the house. Daryl, he says, "What's up, Ron and everyone?" Daryl, if you didn't hear, September 14th. That's the date of the turf park party, man. And then Devin's in the house. He says, "What's up, guys? Looking forward to some good turf talk. We'll try our best, Devin. We really will." And then R. Reed says, "Good Friday, guys. What's going on?" And then James says, "As Ron knows, I asked what the drink of tonight is. Tonight it is it's lemonade, watermelon, puree, and ginger. You'd be proud of this one, James. This is not too sweet. That's got a little bit of everything in it." And I said, "I have to ask Lee, what's your fluid of choice tonight?" I'm mango with a little green tea extract. I'm pretty sure that's not Lee. I don't know, but I'm gonna bet Lee's not drinking that. But Lee, go ahead.
That looks so good. But yeah, I'm going with a Bud Light beer right now.
There you go. All right.
It's Friday night. Missing the kids' high school football game, so glad to be here. But it's Friday night, so we're gonna relax and have fun with you guys. Excited about that.
Nice. So guys, here's the thing: as the night goes on, you might get more info. So we just gotta wear him down. You know, just gotta wait. See. All right.
I'll pace myself.
All right. So Mark Albert says, "I just bought a Revolution within the last month. First reel mower I have. It's awesome. Question: do I have to stop the reel every time you turn around once you get to the end of the pass?"
Great question. Absolutely not.
No.
I rarely shut off the reel except for if I'm walking away from it. So, or if I'm sitting still. So I know if you sit still with the reel spinning, you can kind of create a burn mark. But I say sitting still, 10 seconds, not just a second. But nope, I keep the reel spinning. Do you, Ron?
Oh yeah, same thing. Yeah, I don't. To your point, I don't leave. Well, if I'm using the greens mower, I can't even do that because the mower can't sit still and the reel turn. But like with the Owlet or the Revolution, I don't leave the reel engaged and leave it on the lawn if I'm walking away to go do something. That's the only thing. When I'm transporting the mower like from the garage over concrete or whatever, I tend to not have the reel engaged then. But once I start mowing the lawn, it's engaged until I'm done. I mean, there's no to answer your question, Mark. No, I don't make a pass, stop the reel, turn, re-engage the reel. There's not really a need for it, in my opinion. It's additional unnecessary wear to the clutch assembly. So why do that? Because you're engaging, unengaging. I mean, there's not really a need to do that. So no, I wouldn't.
Question.
Okay, Steven is up next. He said, "I just sent pictures. What is this growing? The spots. I did some leveling. I know I have some nutsedge. What's the other weed? It looks kind of like crabgrass, Steven. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looks kind of like crabgrass. All right, let me show folks what you're working with here. All right. Yeah, these are the two weeds that he's dealing with. So picture 1 and picture 2. Looks crabgrassy. You can see up close, especially like if you look at like at like the 4 o'clock position, like the one that's kind of pointing to the right. Yeah, that looks like crabgrass to me, Steven. So if that's what you got, quinclorac will take care of that. So I'll link something I'll link a herbicide in the chat that you can use to knock it out. Given that you have all the bare dirt from the top dressing, not surprised you have that. But again, like I was saying, you always when you get one thing, you sometimes get something else that unexpected as part of it. So you have a bunch of bare dirt, getting some weeds, a little bit of weed pressure is not uncommon. So, but this will take care of it. Be sure to use surfactant with it for best results. All right, next up, we have Rashid Turner. He says, "Lee, today I heard."
Hey.
Sorry, start over again. Today I heard there's been some clutch issues with the Revolution 26. I am not sure how accurate that is. That news coming from a competitor. Has there been any setbacks with the Revolution 26?
Question. We have had some issues with the clutch on just maybe 10 customers out of 800. Super small amount. And what that was in the beginning was manufacturing. So there was some certain bolts that were not assembled correctly, and those that had the clutch issues with it, those bolts coming out, were very early on determined. And what it really came down to is making sure we got our manufacturing and production process put in place right. So overall, we've had very few issues when you look at the number of mowers that we put out in the market. And oftentimes, one thing that we've learned is, as you dig a little bit deeper, you learn there's a little bit more to it than just the mower not working exactly what they expected it to do. But no, I think competitors saying stuff like that is expected sometimes. But at the end of the day, the mower's been put through the rigors. We have probably 10 to 20 landscapers. I talked to a landscaper this week who has 6 of our machines as an example, and they're mowing 650,000 square feet per week of Zeon zoysia down the Buckhead area. And it's just, to me, they have 6 of our machines and 12 True Cuts that they're trying to keep going. But they say the amount of wear that they put on our machines in just a short period of time really gives me confidence that for the average homeowner, it really is a truly durable machine, being all chain driven. But yeah, there's going to be some hiccups, Rashid. That's a great question. And we did have a few problems with the clutch on our first couple containers, but those are all things that we've addressed. And for the most part, there were things that needed to be adjusted versus it being a flaw with the actual mower. So yeah, I think we're in a really good place.
Nice. Cool. Jimmy Miller's up next. He says, I have a lot of oaks out back, and oaks being oaks, they tend to drop small branches, twigs, leaves. Would it be advisable to real mow this area? I had planned on using my John Deere, but it's scrap now. If it's not grass, I really would not run over it. I mean, I don't know how many, I don't have pictures of it, Jimmy, so it's hard to say how many twigs and sticks and this kind of thing, but all the twigs and sticks sound like not grass to me, so I wouldn't run over them. I mean, you probably can, and it would probably be okay, but I mean, it's not good for the mower. It's just not good for it. And at a minimum, you're not going to get a great cut. So I personally I would get that stuff up before mowing. I mean, I know it's easy to say that, but if every time you mow, you got to go out and clean like twigs and branches and stuff off the grass, I know it's kind of a pain, but it's in my mind, that is a better option than potentially damaging the equipment. But it's ultimately up to you. Okay, next up is Mark Luna. He says, "Hello, Ron and Lee. Hope all is well. Still low and green in Austin. Nice. In the 100s all week. Still 2 months away from pre-emergent time for us. Let's get those likes up. Peace." I like it. Mark. We got a super chat here. Let me grab this one really quick. This one was from Mr. Let's Go Phils. All right. So there you go. You got to shout out stream. Thank you so much for the super chat, sir. I appreciate that.
Received.
And now the hard part, we'll figure out where we left off. Okay. Next up, we have a question from Anthony Velez. He says, Ron, if I use Miramichi pest control on the lawn, is there a chance of it burning the lawn? I'm out in Arizona, so it gets 110 plus out here. Also, does it need to be watered in after spraying the lawn? Great question, Anthony. No, I've never heard of the pest control burning the lawn. It's not a herbicide. And as far as you needing to water it in after application, no need to water it in. That tends to be true for pretty much all of Miramichi Green's products. They're not designed, even like the biostimulants. You can wait for it to rain. They're not like fertilizer where you really need to water them in within a day or two to activate them. And the pest control is really no different. No need to water it in. I've never heard of anyone having lawn damage from spraying it during high temperatures. So I wouldn't imagine you're going to have an issue. So great question, sir. Hopefully that helps. And then next, Brett May's up next. He says, hey, everyone. Lee, I'm strongly considering ordering a Revolution 26. How long would it be from the time of order until it ships out? He says, the man says, I'm going to give you my money. How long before you ship my mower?
We ship most all orders within 48 hours. So we like to pull the mowers down business days. Let's be fair. On the weekends we're not working, so we can't count those. But no, business days, it's usually 48 hours, usually 24, but sometimes my guys get mad if I set that expectation. So I literally, ironically, went on our website today and adjusted kind of our language to say, within 48 hours. Say 24, but we didn't always get it. If it was a heavy day of orders, especially like on a Monday, it's really tough on Mondays to get through all of the emails from the weekend, all the orders from the weekend, and get them out the door because freight picks up usually about 2 o'clock. So you really got to get after it to get the mowers ready. And we definitely don't want to send a mower out that we haven't fully inspected and made sure it's adjusted perfectly. So we really fine tuned that process and we feel really good about what we get out. So 48 hours.
Nice. There you go, Brett. So you could order like today and it would go out Tuesday ish. There you go.
Sure. It would go out Tuesday.
Yeah. All right. Next up are Brett. He's also considering the Alice Sterling because of the verticutter cartridge, but much more expensive. Does your business have anything for verticutting?
It's a hot topic.
Right. Verticutting makes a difference, man.
How often do you do yours, Ron?
Once a month. So yeah, once a month. So really starting in May, June, July, really 3 to 4 times a year. August, so 3 to 4 times a year. So it is a you don't verticut anywhere nearly as often as you mow, obviously, but it does make a big difference in the visual appearance of the lawn and just more consistency of the cut. But it's really a piece of equipment that you're talking about using like 4 times in a season for most people. So
no, I think we just answered it earlier, but I don't want to ignore it. We don't have anything currently for verticutting, but we will look to do something hopefully in the future, 2026 timeframe to be realistic.
Sure. All right, cool. So we have a question here. Now, David McKinney says, what type of grass is a real mower for? You want to take this one, Lee? What kind of grasses do you think benefit from real mowing?
For sure, the warm season grasses. Let's be clear: your Bermudas, your zoysias, your centipedes, and then we hear a lot more people mowing in the cooler season areas. Some of the hybrids of Kentucky bluegrass as well as ryegrass. Each year we overseed our turf park, our Bermuda, with ryegrass, and it's beautiful. It's amazing to have green grass in the winter because our Bermuda and zoysias go dormant and go brown. But man, it is a bear to turn the curve in spring to get your Bermuda to wake up when you try to spray out the ryegrass. It really does compete, and I'm not sure that we'll do it this year because I said last year I wouldn't do it, and I did it anyhow. So this year I thought maybe it was a fluke, but this year again my Bermuda struggled to come out of dormancy, and I couldn't tell what was Bermuda and what was rye, and when the right time was to spray the rye out. So I think there's still the ryegrass. This was Ryan Norris ryegrass that we used in particular, but they become pretty resilient. So they actually will grow when they used to. Some of the cultivars were a little bit less heat tolerant and drought tolerant. They would kind of die out pretty quick in the summer and the spring. But some of these new cultivars of ryegrass are beast. I'm not sure that it wouldn't go all summer. It was pretty impressive actually, but we did eventually spray it out, and finally our Bermuda has been waking up here about early July and it's finally started to take off. So those are the grasses I would say.
Cool.
Definitely, so, I've heard people trying it on St. Augustine, but I just don't see how that works. I just can't visualize that.
I've seen it done.
So high.
I've seen pictures from folks, and I mean, they're not cutting it at the height that St. Augustine is normally cut at, so I tend to not recommend it. But it's I've seen it done. But just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean, you should. All right. Andre Taylor says, evening, Ron and Lee. Happy Friday. And Rashid Turner's back. He says, Lee, is there anything you would do different with the launch of the Revolution 26?
Obviously. I think the only thing that I would have done differently if I had control was to stop those people from shooting rockets in the Suez Canal. That delayed us about a month, I'll be honest. That was probably our biggest hangup that we couldn't predict was getting our mowers here. There was 2 bad situations that, again, now I know to look at the entire world and understand shipping routes. But one was South America went through a crazy drought this summer, or I guess it was their winter, but they went through a big drought. So the Panama Canal was only letting certain size ships go through the canal because the water was so low. So it backed up the Panama Canal coming that way. And then the Suez Canal is a very common route also. And none of the ships were going there. They're going all the way around Africa, which added another 30 days to ocean shipping. So if I could control something, it would have been that. Would I have done anything different? I don't think I would have known any better, you know? And that was part of the fun of this whole year was the learning curve and, having a challenge put in front of you and not knowing the answer, but knowing you have to find the answer. So, no, I don't think we'd do anything different. I think we launched it at a perfect time, especially if you look at the market. I mean, as soon as we launched, all of a sudden everybody had a new reel mower coming out. So we did some good things for the marketplace. And I think we delivered a mower on time. Some people had to wait a pretty good period of time, but we do get it on time for people to be able to mow their yards. And now we're in a surplus situation, and hopefully we'll never be in a deficit on mowers again. Just keep ordering.
Nice. All
Great
right.
question.
Let's go. Phil says, ordered an AeroGreen system today for the yard. It was too much heat stress this summer, and I considered warm season cool mix in the future. Opted instead for the water. Okay. Any good or bad experience with the system? I've never used the AeroGreen. Like, I think the AeroGreen is one of those smart those smart sprinkler head devices. I've never used one. The videos that I see, you watch them on Instagram or on Facebook, they look okay. They look like they work okay, but I've never actually used myself to be able to say how well it would work. I imagine that a lot of it just comes down to how good a job you do installing it and how good you do setting it up. I don't know how robust they are or how well they hold up, but I've never used one, so I can't really say. But the pictures look okay. The videos look like a pretty cool device. All right. Next up, our fragrance journey says, "Sup, Ron? Sucks. I've missed. I missed the lives of my weekly roll tide. One more week of military training. Unfortunately, the lawn hasn't been taken care of like usual. Too late to scalp and level in Texas. Man, I don't know, dude. It's well, first of all, thanks for your service. You didn't mow your lawn, but you're off doing something that's important. Even more important. So I get it. And as far as scalping and leveling Texas, it's man, we're like in late August. I really wouldn't want to tell you to go do that. And then, the day you level your lawn, Texas is going to get a cold snap and it's going to cool off and the lawn's not going to recover. So late August is just, you're really rolling the dice. I would say you're better off waiting until next year. I really would. I just, cool season turf grass, that would be okay. But if you're talking about warm season grass, it's really, it's really a bit late in the season, in my opinion, for that. I will forgive you for your.
I wonder if that's Bermuda.
Yeah, especially for Bermuda. Right.
Yeah, I think zoysia doesn't spread nearly as fast or run nearly as fast as a Bermuda. So if you have zoysia, it's absolutely out of the question. I mean, I tried to fix a spot in my backyard, and me and my wife were watching where we did some holes and we transplanted some zoysia, and it's just so slow to grow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just watching the water boil. It just won't happen. So Bermuda does run a little bit faster, but I think you're taking a chance. But if you have zoysia, I would absolutely not do it. I would scalp. If you want to do a high to cut reset, you're great. It'll recover in a week. But to level, I'm with you. I would hold off.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, we have Phil says, okay. Oh, thanks, Ron and Lee, for the education. And then next up is Kyle Savant. So you mentioned a 10 blade. He says, I heard Lee mention the 10 blade reel will come as a cartridge. Does this mean that you might have plans to have we should just, I'm going to retitle this to Reel Roller Answers Questions About Verticutting. Does this mean you might have a verticutter cartridge in the future for the Revolution?
This is great. We have 109 people on here, and we've had people talk about a verticutter. I think, from understanding your marketplace and opportunities, this is real feedback. So I love it. Looks like verticutting is important.
Yeah. So there you go, Kyle. I guess you're asking. He's not giving an answer, but you never know. Jim Schmid is up next. He says, Ron, thank God it's Friday from Northeast Florida. I've been doing a soil test in late Feb to see what I need, and then in October to see the results of what I've been applying. Is that a good format or plan or recommendations? Yeah, it's a great idea, Jim. And for a couple of reasons. One, to your point, the spring soil test for letting you see what the gaps are in your soil and use that to drive your nutrient program, it just makes a lot of sense. And then in the fall, measuring the effectiveness in that program and also checking to see where your soil pH is so you can determine whether or not you need a lime application or some other adjustment you need to do to lower or raise pH, because unlike your primary nutrients, the pH levels of the soil can take a bit longer to change. So you can know that in the fall. That gives you more time during the off season to make those adjustments so that you hit the ground running the following season. So I'm a fan of testing spring and fall, and I would do exactly what you're doing. There was one year where I tested quarterly because I just wanted to see, I want to measure like how the nutrient levels were changing throughout the season. It was cool. It was cool to have that data, but it's not something I would necessarily recommend. And it's not the juices isn't worth the squeeze. It's additional costs, and really spring, fall, that's really all you need if you're really trying to optimize and do things as good as possible. All right, next up is Stephen Nguyen. He says, I want the revolution bad, but it has to wait, unfortunately. Spent a lot recently leveling 10,000 square feet, front, sides, lawn, plus leveling the back, 7,000 square feet, and sod. Hopefully I'll have the revolution in the spring. That's a good time. It's a good time to get one. Get it.
Great.
Yeah, get it, February-ish time frames. You're good to go. You can, have it set, oil in it. It's all in good shape, and you're ready for that cut come springtime. Next up is James Smith. Oh, here we go. Football talk. I knew it was gonna be a matter of time. He says, "Oh, Miss Lee." It says, "With the 18 van and dog colors on the mowers, surprised you didn't slip in a little blue."
Yeah, you're kidding, right? It's funny how the colors of our company came about. It was really from how we got started with the front rollers. So, that was where rear rollers was born, was, having the patents for all the True Cut mowers, all the trimmer mowers, and the McLean mowers. And our rollers were black and red. And that's really how the colors got started, especially on the True Cut, which was our most popular roller. So those colors in the 18 van and kind of the whole thing of real rollers all started with the front roller. And those colors just kind of went in line. And as far as the 18 van, that was just a bunch of buddies of mine. I always wanted to lift a van. It was gold at the time when I bought it, and it was a handicap van. And we had it lifted and threw some bumpers on it and some exhaust, and just kept having fun with it. And at one point, it was completely black and lifted. And I keep looking over here because I can see it outside in the parking lot. Sorry, but it was the van was completely black. And then one of my buddies just looked at me. He was like, "Man, that would be so cool if you did the 18." And I was like, "That is brilliant." So we literally just went with it. So it's a head turner. It's so funny. You could have an amazing Ferrari or Lamborghini or some super sports car, but man, that 18 van gets so many people that like turn their heads and honk at me and wave. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's cool. The stripe is just right too. Look, it looks legit. It
Yeah,
looks the part.
it's funny.
All right, Michael Raymond's up next. He says, "Hey, Lee, been running my trimmer 25 I got from you for a year now. Trimmer is a gateway drug to an eventual upgrade to hopefully Revolution 26 next year. Can only imagine the quality of cut is far superior." That's a good question. I mean, it's not really a question, but between the trimmer, the traditional trimmer, I'd say the trimmer 25 and the Revolution, what really would a person going from say a trimmer 25 to Revolution see as far as use, cut quality, that type of thing? Given that you have all those mowers.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's very fair. Cut quality, I just don't think that there's that big of a difference when you have two real mowers properly adjusted and properly tuned in as far as the reel to bed knife, and it's got a good sharp edge and a clean edge. I would argue that there's really not a significant difference to the naked eye between one mower or the other. That's just my personal opinion. I'm sure when you get down to the eighth of an inch cut and you start to get some low millimeter cuts like you would find on a golf course green, you would start to see some separation between a greens mower and say a Revolution or a trimmer or a True Cut. But when you're in that half-inch range to 1 inch range, I don't know that you see a significant difference in cut quality between one brand or the other. I think what differentiates these mowers more than anything is one, the ease of use, and then the ease of maintaining or adjusting. And that was really what we focused in with the Revolution, was really making a mower compared to the trimmer, for example. The only way that mower moves is by spinning the reel under its own power. So one, you have to turn the reel on just to move it from garage, let's say, to the front yard. And then two, the drop wheel design is something that you find on the McLean and the trimmer. It works great, and it's been a tried and true design, but it gets kind of cumbersome trying to lift that wheel up and down, especially if you have slopes or if you have hills or you need to stop real quick. That can be a little bit of a challenge with that particular mower. And with the Revolution having more of the rotary mower type of handlebars, where you kind of can control your speed, you can control going forward, backwards, and then also you can control the reel spinning with or without the ground control. So I can move the mower under its power and not spin the reel, which is really important to me. So I don't wear the reel down prematurely. I don't risk damaging it. There's a safety factor in that. So I think that will be a huge difference that you'll notice between the Revolution and the trimmer. And then the ease of adjusting it. Adjusting the reel to bed knife is so easy. Backlapping. You don't have to remove any chains off the mower. Height of cut, adjusting your height of cut. It's right there written on the mower, very easily to see and very easily to adjust. And then, of course, the rear drum compared to the trimmer that has a couple wheels in the back and then that middle drop wheel, you tend to get much better stripes and a much more consistent, even cut because you've got such big drums on the front and the back that really keep that mower level even when the yard isn't. So I think if I was looking for a real mower these days, honestly, my entry would be it has to have a rear drum. And I know there's other brands other than ours that do that. That's just my entry in the game these days. I really don't want wheels anymore.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Lee. I say that the biggest given. I mean, I'm fortunate to have I think some fairly nice mowers, and I've compared the Revolution to my Greensmaster, and I actually did a video of that. If you guys have not seen it, where I mow with the Revolution, I mow with the Greensmaster, then I mow with the Revolution, and I mean, and the Greensmaster is an 11 blades. It's not really fair. The Revolution is a 6-blade reel mower, and the Revolution is the Toro Greensmaster is a 11 blade, and I can look at the two, and if I look closely, I can see the difference in the cut quality. But it's one of these things where if a person, unless you are doing them right next to each other, there's not a whole lot in it. There really isn't. Now, between the Revolution and a True Cut, big difference. Between the Revolution and a lighter mower like a Swordman, in my opinion, bigger difference. But between a greens mower, there's not a ton there. The other mower, I'd say, you look at the Outlet, like the Evolution. The one advantage the Outlet has is just so heavy that it lays really nice stripes. But as far as cut quality, to Lee's point, if the mower is sharp, well adjusted, there's really not a ton in it. Especially if all the mowers or you're cutting at heights that are ideal for all of them. So if you're cutting at 3/4 of an inch in that range, doesn't really it's 6 half a dozen, I'd say. So something to consider.
One last
We had
thing
a couple.
around.
What's that? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry. One thing I did think about when you were talking was one of the things that will improve the cut quality that I do think the Revolution does have going for it is that front roller weight. I was just thinking about when you were talking, one of the things that gives a great cut with any reel mower is that mower being planted and grounded, not bouncing across your soil because not everybody's soil is perfect, So I think that is an advantage when it comes to cut quality. It's not necessarily the bed knife or the real cut quality. It's more of staying planted and having that consistency of the cut because the mower's not jumping up and down with that heavy 18-pound roller we made. So I do think that's a big difference when I think about it.
Nice. Good stuff. All right, we got a couple of super chats. This one from Mr. Rashid Turner. Thank you so much, Rashid.
Super chat received.
He says, I love my lawn. It looks good. However, to get it right, I'm going to have to repeat the process. Will using organic material on top of the sand create soil layering issues? No, I really wouldn't worry about it. I've done every combination you can think about as far as top dressing my lawn, leveling my lawn. Sometimes just straight compost, sometimes sand, sometimes a combination of them. It's absolutely fine. You're not gonna have problems. And then next is that crazy lawn guy.
Super chat received.
It says, hi guys, I got a free Outlet Liberty 43. Got it running. Gonna sell my 3 reels to get a Revolution since this economy ain't turning. Hope it's enough. She's like, man, I'm gonna sell my mower, sell reels, give blood. I'm gonna make this happen.
It's awesome you got a free one. Can't hate that.
That's right, man. You gotta respect the grind. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Well, yeah. Well, hopefully it's enough for you to get the mower. That crazy lawn guy. All right. Next up we have Jim Schmidt. I think he's already answered this, but we'll put it up again just in case other folks haven't seen it. He's, hey Lee, Revolution 26 owner and huge fan of you guys and your product. If not already asked, it hasn't been asked in the last 2 minutes, so we'll ask it again. It says, any cartridge plans?
Yeah, no, it's obviously a fair question, but I think the consistency of this question is really fair. People want to know, and that's obvious. So yeah, Jim, I think we answered that a little bit earlier, but we're looking to do that. 2026 will probably be the soonest that we'll have cartridges when you think of verticutters, scarifiers, those types of things, groomers, but a real assembly. We try to stay away from that word cartridge by design, you'll notice. almost like I'm a politician, because it isn't truly a cartridge, but it is an entire assembly that goes in as one unit. We will have that available here in about a month or two for the Rev owners.
Nice. Very, very cool. Jared George is up next. He says, Ron, around this time of year, I tend to notice brown dead material under the canopy. Even though I've done more maintenance, verticuts this year, it's still there. What causes this? I'd say, when was the last time you verticut, Jared? As you move throughout the season, especially if you're real mowing regularly throughout the season, the lawn tends to thicken up, and you will tend to, what I find anyway, you tend to get scalping or cutting issues that you did not get in the springtime. So your options are verticut, like what you're saying you've done, or you can do a high to cut reset. Of the two, verticutting is less ugly, but they're both effective as far as, like, getting the lawn, giving it a refresh, and restoring that cut quality. I guess, Lee, for you, I mean, I'm not sure if you do a high to cut reset on your lawn, given you got zoysia, but even you throughout the season, you will sometimes knock it down, huh?
We've probably done it 3 times this year, actually. Just I don't know why, but we had a lot of floating this year. The mowers, even on the zoysia plots, and even at the house. I think doing a high to cut reset, I didn't used to do it as much, but the results after doing one, I don't know what necessarily it does to the plant, but man, it comes back even darker and greener. And I think, Ron, you remember last year, I only did half the turf park on each plot. And I was just still amazed that even this spring, so last year I had some floating, and being the weird person that I am, the way I think, I really only wanted to cut one half of each of our plots and scalp only one half. So I maintained 1 3/4 all year long, never did a high cut reset. And then on one half, and then the other half of each plot, we scalped it down, did a high cut reset. And I was just sold and amazed last year when I did that not only did the grass come back greener and thicker where we scalped very quickly on both zoysias and the Bermuda, but even this spring when it came out of dormancy, you could still see, because there was literally a line right down the middle. You could see a line where the side that we did a high to cut reset came, not like came out of dormancy faster. And we scalped both in the spring, so that wasn't a difference either. We kept everything else completely consistent, except for that high to cut reset. But it came back darker green in the spring. Like, don't know why. But it truly was evident, and it was evident on every single plot. You could literally see the line divided where I scalped versus where I did it the previous summer. So now
Nice.
I do it 2 or 3 times a year when I start to notice scalp marks, or I start to notice the mowers floating.
Nice. Very cool. Okay, next up is Antoine. We have CPIM says, yep, what you mentioned is accurate. This still applies for monetization. Antoine Clackett is saying, happy Friday, everyone. What's going on? And then Jimmy Miller has a question for you. If you could replay time, he says, Lee, one of the things I've been wondering is what you would have done different if you were to release the Revolution 26 today. What have you seen with this mower that you did not anticipate?
I don't know if I would change anything, but I probably, my biggest thing would be sometimes when you make something too easy to adjust, people like to adjust. And that can create some situations for the mower. So that would probably be, I don't know if I would change it, but maybe I'd educate differently on some things. Folks are doing what is natural. One, you've got the curious mind customer that just wants to tinker with everything when they get it. They just want to touch it all. And they want to start seeing how everything works, which is completely understandable. Sometimes they adjust some things not knowing that they've adjusted things out of whack a little bit. So it creates a little situation. But, adjusting things easily is a benefit, but can also be a little bit of a detriment if you're not sure what you're adjusting for and doing. And I think, for example, we talked about the reel clutch a little bit earlier. Sometimes folks thought that needed to be really taut, the cable that goes to it that controls that. And it's quite the opposite. It really needs to be fully slacked when you disengage it, so that when you engage it, the clutch only has to move about 1 millimeter to engage the reel. Sometimes folks had it so tight that it actually kind of gets stuck in there for a second. So just by adjusting that turn, we have a turn dial that adjusts the tension. Very easy to do, almost too easy to do. Once people brought that back to the proper slack and understood the reason why the slack had to be there, it really eliminated almost all the problems. So I think there's a happy medium between making something too intuitive for folks to adjust. So I think maybe education on the front end on my part probably could have been better with the mower as to why things are the way they are and how they impact the downstream effects of the mower. But that's probably it. Great question again.
Nice.
Right.
All right, Raymond, Michael Raymond says Celsius and Certainty combo 110% does damage to broadleaf weeds and sedges. I should hope so. It's a good combo. He says, thank you for getting us in the know. Subbing up to Spectacle versus Prodymene this fall. Cannot have POA again. Yeah, I mean, Celsius and Certainty, in my opinion, for warm season turf grass is a great combination. There are other herbicides you can use on warm season turf grass, but really, I don't know, especially what they cost and the lack of temperature restrictions with both those products. That it's just, I haven't seen anything personally as yet that that is good as that combination. So, which is why I recommend it so much. It's really, I'm glad to hear you're getting great results with it, Michael. And yeah, you will like the results you get with Spectacle. Again, it's not cheap, but it is it's expensive for a reason. It's a really good product as far as keeping POA annua out of warm season turf grass. Two Trilla says, hey Ron, and happy Friday, Shop Action Gang. Good to see you as well, Lee. Can't wait for the turf party. Nice. Very cool.
See ya.
Stephen Wynn says, speaking on crabgrass, what do you use for mature crabgrass? My neighbor has it all. I mean, you can use quinclorac, man, but really once you get more mature crabgrass, it's challenging to control it. I mean, there's like Drive Accelerate, which is another quinclorac based product, but really crabgrass is easier, like most weeds, it's easier to control when it's young. If you have more mature crabgrass, quinclorac is still what I'd recommend. It just may take a couple of rounds of it to be able to get the crabgrass under control. So if you got quinclorac, Stephen, that is what I would roll with. And I think I've already given you a link to that in the chat. If not, I will do so now. So you'll be all good to go. All right, James Smith says, Lee, 2027 battery option?
Very fair question. Not at this time. The battery is it's kind of a tough one. And Ron, you know this as well. Number one, my concern is the price gets very, very high, really, really quick. Those batteries and the chargers, they can get really expensive really quick. I know we've talked about it with your Allen. It's to power it sufficiently. It really looks like it takes 2 to 3 pretty big batteries to go ahead and power one of those machines. So I think that's one hesitation. And my other hesitation with that at this time is there's a lot of batteries on the market, and to appease everyone that has gone to the Greenworks side or gone to the other side, the Ryobi side or Milwaukee or whatever you've gone. It's really, really tough to accommodate and fulfill all of those needs at an economical venture, you could say. To have these different brands or different types of batteries that would work, or you could go with a off-brand and have your own battery. Well, that creates other problems on its own as well. So I think there's some more challenges around just the logistics piece of it, because you do have to remember, unlike a rotary mower, the volume isn't quite or nearly what you have there of a rotary mower. So you really can't scale up to get that cost down like you could say with a Ryobi or something like that. So I think my fear is the cost. And my fear is bringing it to market and people saying, oh, I wanted this type of battery. And you eliminate a big chunk of the market if you can't come up with the right battery pack that they're already using. That's my thoughts.
It's a fair question. And the cost of batteries really isn't a small one. Like, fair point. If you were to go through, I mean, it's the price of this, everything has gone up. If you were to go buy the batteries that I have to power the Owlet and chargers, just in batteries, so 6 of those batteries is like $3,000. So they're like $500 a piece, and then you need 2 chargers because each charger only does like 2 batteries at a time. So you want to keep running the mower like just nonstop. You need 2 of the chargers at like $250 a piece. So you're talking like $3,500 in battery and chargers, just like a mower, right? So it's not inexpensive to go that route. And then there's also the to Lee's point, if you're licensing like Greenworks Technology, or who's the other people that do the Sterling? I don't know the other one. The other I can't remember the other one. Yeah, but it's just there's a cost to doing that. So it's not an easy thing to do. I'm sure. I mean, eventually, given enough time, everything will be electric. But I mean, it's just not something. It's not super. It's not as easy as just slapping a mower on a existing gas mower and making that work. So.
There's still one other thing there's, and I don't know, Owlet's done a great job with this, especially with their higher end mowers, but, you're creating a sense of friction with the reel and the bed knife if you have those two touching. So really, the user could over tighten the reel too much on the bed knife, and you could really create some situations with overheating batteries, overheating the motors, and it could be completely user error, but it'd be really hard to justify and prove that one way or another, and you'd have to really figure out a way to have a safety mechanism. And I don't know how it does it currently, but they obviously conquered this. But that's always been a challenge with the Swordman is, that my battery didn't last very long, or it overheated my batteries, but the reel of the bed knife was insanely tight. And it's hard to determine that was the factor. So unlike a rotary mower that's, kind of what resistance you're going to get with some kind of consistency. And I don't know, Ron, tell me about the Allet. We have a really tiny rotary mower we use to pick up leaves in the fall. That's battery powered, but it will increase its RPMs when it reaches tension. So as it starts to mow thicker grass, the
Mm-hmm.
RPMs are smart enough to lift up on that battery power. Does the
Mm-hmm.
Allet do that? Does it change its power load?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that'd be
No,
another
no.
thing that would be nice to have.
And a case in point, what you said about the reel to bed knife clearance, like what the way Alec recommends you set the mower up, it's like whisper quiet. You want very little to no, almost no contact between the reel and bed knife. It's very, 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 very light. For that reason, you just don't want a tight tolerance. You don't want to hear like metal on metal whenever you're running it. So that's an excellent point that you also brought up too, as far as just overheating things, decreasing runtime, and that type of thing. If you have the mower adjusted incorrectly. Gary Callahan says, does Real Rollers have any plans to make a dedicated verticutting machine or a reel mower with cartridges that can be swapped out to a verticutting blade?
Yes, in the future. Hopefully in 2026, we'll be endeavoring that. Next year, we'll be planning.
All right. Chris Simmons is up next. Is first to market with an affordable quality verticutter for us warm season folks will be a game changer. I swear I did not put everyone up to this. I promise you I did not say, hey, everyone come in here and ask about verticutters.
We may need to shift directions and get with our engineers and be looking at that more aggressively. If the market wants it, it's something that, especially for folks that are really into real mowing, it may be a need more than we thought. Seems that way.
Seems like it, yeah. Yeah, even if it's a standalone machine, or it's like yeah. I mean, if it's a standalone machine or a cartridge, or not a cartridge, but like a swappable cutting head, like what you're doing with the 10 blade with a verticutter. I mean, that could work. Okay. Next up is Ceres or Ceres. It says, hey, Ron, happy Friday. Preparing 2025 renovation. I see your dislike for common, but isn't your lawn Arden 15, which is an improved common and not a hybrid, correct? Okay, first of all, I do not have a dislike for common Bermuda. What I don't like is when you have hybrid and common Bermuda in the same lawn, because it's a headache to deal with. I mean, visually it looks different, but also from a standpoint of like using growth regulator, it's a pain. I don't have any beef against common Bermuda. I mean, common Bermuda is still Bermuda grass. I think that hybrid cultivars tend to look prettier, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't beef against common. And this isn't RN15 an improved common, not hybrid. So it depends what you ask. I believe that if Bermuda grass grows from seed, it's truly just an improved common. But if you look at the marketing material for Arden 15 when it was still around, they said it's a hybrid Bermuda grass from seed. So depending on who you talk to. Arden, my lawn is Tifway 419 and Arden. And for the most of it is a fine leaf blade. I've got a few spots of common throughout the lawn, but for the most part, it's pretty all a fine blade. All right. Next up is Jared George. He says, always assumed I have common Bermuda, which is, considering it is fast growing, wider bladed. I don't live in a state where you can get hybrid Bermuda, but I'm not sure. How could I get it tested to determine? Maybe your local extension office could if you sent them pictures of it, they'd be able to help you out, Jared. Yeah, that's what I would say. But to your point, like common tends to be a thicker blade. The stolons also tend to be thicker. I mean, there's a pretty big visual difference between common Bermuda and hybrid. Common Bermuda, in my opinion, also doesn't grow quite as dense or tight as hybrid does. So those are some things to also look at. Next up is Chris Simmons. He says, I am buying the Revolution 26 next season. I want it this year, but I have to be budget conscious. Heard nothing but great things from current owners. Congrats on the success to you and your team, Lee.
Thank you.
Nice. All right. Sabrina Cruz, off topic. I sprayed image today for some broad leaf weeds. Is 1 week enough time to wait to spray for Dallas grass? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if okay, first of all, as far as using image for broadleaf weeds is not the best choice. You'd want to use something like Celsius or a 3-way, in my opinion. And then Dallas grass, really the herbicide you can use for controlling Dallas grass, you're not supposed to use on residential lawns. So I will go on to the next question. All right. James Smith is up next. He says, lawn lovers are like woodworkers. Things look great, but both groups will tend to point out things that need more focus, issues, etc. Yeah, I mean, it's just never enough. It's never good enough. I mean, I'm sure I will bet you. I mean, I've never gotten to speak to them, but I mean, I would bet you that if you speak to the folks that put together Augusta National every year, and while the course is amazing and everyone just swoons over it and says, "Oh, it's incredible," I'm sure whenever they are working on the course, they have their problem areas that they would like to make better. And I'm sure even when the tournament is going on, they're like, "Say, man, I really hope the camera doesn't go here because I don't want this." I mean, granted, their idea of bad is what we would all love to have, but I'm sure even with some of the best turf grass on the planet, they have areas that they wish could be even better. So it's a thing. It's all part when you care about something. When you really care about something, you're always looking for ways to make it better. You're never happy with the way it is. You always think about ways to improve it. All right, Bill Smith is up next. He says, "I love my Revolution 26. Huge upgrade from my Fisker's push reel." That is a huge upgrade, man. That's big. Let's see here. Greg Lyon for Lee. He says, for Lee, I would love to get your 26-inch reel mower, but I need to offload my McLean. Are there some good sources in the area where they buy used reel mowers? Or better, would you consider trade-ins?
I think the best place usually we see is Facebook Marketplace. That's where we see a lot of the used reel mowers out there in the market that we tend to see. As far as trade-ins, every once in a while we'll look at a trade-in depending on what it is. For example, one gentleman brought us a John Deere last week. He gave us the John Deere Greens mower and a little bit of money in between. But every once in a while we'll take one if we need a mower. And we got the John Deere for the turf park, just so we would have another type of brand of reel mower for people to compare and contrast. And I think it's important for me and my team to really know all the reel mowers intimately, how to fix them, how to adjust them. It makes us better people and better at educating folks between the differences of the mowers. So we don't take any trade-ins almost 99% of the time, but this one instance we did. I think Facebook Marketplace, plus you'll probably get a lot more money. Because if we buy something used, which we really never really try to do, we'll obviously want to make some money on it. And I think you should take all of that profit and keep it for yourself, because it's really easy now with Marketplace.
Nice. All right. Jimmy Miller, he says, with both mowers down, one being scrapped and the other waiting for parts. You had a mole. Your friend Marquez has sent a family member to squat my lawn. A mole on your lawn? Man, that's horrible. I hate moles. Are terrible, man. I just can't deal with moles. I don't like them. All right. Next up is Rick Thibodeau. He says, I got my 5-month-old granddaughter on my lap watching the podcast, Stardom, Young About Lawn Care. See, that, you know what? That is a definition of raising them upright. That good. Well done, sir. Well done. I like it. All right. C. Pim says, Colin, he says, question for Lee. What was the biggest challenge when creating the Revolution 26 behind the scenes? It's a good one.
Meeting a timeline. I think that was probably the biggest challenge. We had so much fun designing it. I got to be honest. I knew Ron was part of it, and he came over here a good bit and saw us out on the turf park. Little things like testing the angles for which way the directional fins that come off our grass shield to disperse the grass equally. I mean, I wish we would have had video, because we just looked like, I don't know, weirdos. It was like December. We had our winter rye so we could mow grass. And we're sitting there laying on the ground trying to change directions of little fins, 6 of them that go across the top of the grass shield. That was all the fun. When it comes to the challenge, I never built a mower before. I never really have been into production, so I couldn't have a good appreciation for what it takes from a production and engineering side of it. We had some incredible engineers, and I think our communication and my perspective was probably a big challenge, because what I see as something being very, very simple, they tend to say, well, there's a lot more to it as it relates to not only the design, but then once you design it for the engineers, then they have to come up with tooling. They have to get the tooling made. They have to test the tooling. If the tooling doesn't work right, they have to rebuild the tooling, and then they have to make it scalable. So I think learning that part of the process and how much lead time they needed to get the mower out on time, I believe was probably the biggest challenge and the biggest crunch. Because unlike many product lines out there in the consumer world, we have a finite season. So there's a start and a stop, and you've got to hit that start date. And I think that's what builds a lot of pressure and anxiety in our place, at least in our market, because you know there's a start and you know there's a stop. So, if you don't have everything lined up by February 1st, you might as well kick it to the next season, because it comes full speed and it comes hard. So I think that was our biggest challenge was my communication with engineers and my understanding for how long it takes to make a change. And it's really tough to understand when you want to say, okay, enough's enough. Because it seemed like every time I went to bed, I came up with another idea like, hey, why don't we just do this? Or it'd be cool if we added this. So at some point, you have to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, we're done. Well, anything we want to do in the future will have to be in the future. So that's a great question.
Nice. All right. Zach, up next, he says, hey, y'all, I'm in deep South Georgia, Adele. Having trouble IDing some grass. I'll email a picture to majority of my lawn as a mutt mix. So I got your picture, Zach. This looks kind of like St. Augustine to me. It looks St. Augustine-ish, in my opinion. I'm not sure what you think, Lee. I mean, South Georgia, it's close to Florida. Very well could be St. Aug, but what say you guys? What say the rest of the live stream? You guys feel free to weigh in. What you guys think this is? It looks like St. Aug to me. All right. Next up is Kevin D. Jones. He says, Ron and Lee, my favorites. Go Dogs. Out using my Revolution. Very cool. Put some work in. Let's see. Next up is Darren Proctor. He says, good evening, everyone. I couldn't miss Lee tonight. In Key West for barbecue competition this weekend. Please hit the like button. Dude, and I'm going to tell you guys, Darren is serious. When it comes to barbecue, like every now and then, he's very gracious. He'll send me some spices or whatever. I mean, this man is serious about barbecues. I mean, he put like he put like rims on his barbecue pits. If it shows you, you think we're crazy about mowers. He sent me a picture of it. It's like all chromed out and like mag wheels. I'm like, this is. I guess you can go hog wild with anything, and he's pretty serious about his barbecuing.
How far he went, where he's from. He's down in Key West. I wonder if that was a hike.
Yeah, I think Virginia. I think Virginia or Maryland area. I believe somewhere. I think East Coast. All right, Munir Majid is up next. He says, hello, guys. I'm sure this has been asked before. Just want to know, is there a plan on cartridges for the Revolution?
I hope so. I don't know. I don't know if I should keep answering it. I feel bad people are hearing the same response. I'm sorry.
yeah, I'll just say yes. We won't take any more on it because we've answered the question a bunch of times. It says, Lee, I'm going to oversee my Bermuda backyard with rye this year. What kind do you use? I'm leaning towards perennial, but I'm wondering what kind is going to die out easily.
So
you just answered it.
Go perennial. I don't know if I mentioned the perennial part, but yeah, definitely perennial over annual.
Yeah, so there you go, perennial over annual. And big thing is the problem with overseeding with ryegrass, Jared, is you have to spray it out when the lawn is actually looking its best. So like March, April timeframe, like ryegrass is a thing of beauty in April. And that's really if you're overseeding Bermuda, you really got to get rid of it then if you want the Bermuda to really wake up and not have it not be July until it starts looking good. So it's just you have to ask yourself, which one do you want to look good for, which is more important to you. And if you're planning on doing a ryegrass overseed, you absolutely are going to have to get rid of it, spray it out earlier in the season than you would think to get the Bermuda to come out of dormancy properly.
Stripes like nothing. I mean, it is one of the most pretty grasses. I have
it
to
is.
say.
It
Dark
is
green stripes. Oh,
That's what I said. If I went to cool season grass, ryegrass would be what I would want. I mean, it's just,
Sure.
it is so beautiful, um, gorgeous. I mean, it's the reason why Augusta Nationals, they could use anything, but they use ryegrass, right? So, all right. Jimmy Miller is up next. Says, Lee, I sent an email to Isaac requesting a time this week to come by and get my hands on Revolution 26. Finally, would it be better to just wait for the turf party?
It's completely up to you. The turf party is always fun. Food, drinks, hanging out with people, but you're welcome to come to both. Stop by here anytime, and you could have your own personal time with Isaac or myself or Hayes or any of the other people, and try out all the different mowers yourself. Ask the questions, maybe not be fighting for time. So, maybe a good idea to come out and kick the tires this week or next week, and then maybe come to the turf park party and see if you missed something. Nice thing about the turf park party is that there are a lot of people there. We can maybe get feedback from someone other than my team, and maybe it'll give you a good perspective.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, the American answer, why not both? Right. Uh, all right. Next up is RVA says, hello, lawn enthusiasts. Welcome, Lee. I've been mowing with my Celebration Bermuda at 3/4 of an inch with stripes. I've double cut and triple cut with no luck. Does Revolution rear roller need adjustment?
Sure. Shoot me an email. Shoot us an email. I'm not trying to see what the question is.
I think what he's trying to say is that I think he's trying to say maybe he's double or triple cutting and he's not getting the stripes that I guess he's not getting stripes. I guess that's what it is. I think that's what he's leaning towards. Maybe.
I mean, it's a good height to get good stripes. I mean, usually the higher you cut, the more defined you can see the stripes because it's longer grass blades being able to bend over and it gets thinner as it gets taller. But yeah, shoot me an email and maybe we can exchange some pictures. And maybe I can help you out. I'm just not sure. But the rear roller is adjustable. So is the front roller from left to right. That's one of the cool features. So if you feel like the mower's cutting lower on one side or the other, about 5 minutes. We'll put some videos out there on our website, but you can adjust either roller so we can get it true.
Yep. Good question. We got a question here from Instagram. Patty Dre says, best way to fix bare spots. Recently scalped 4 weeks ago. Just time. It's just going to be time, Patty. I wish I had a better answer for you, but that's really going to be it's going to be a time thing. A time thing.
And some fertilizer.
What's that?
And fertilizer.
And fertilizer. Yeah. Fertilizer and time. All right. Next up is EJM2382 says, Lee, are you still working on a battery reel mower?
We're not currently. That's something that we've kind of put to the back. Sounds like the verticutter is coming first.
That's what I would say. I would definitely vote for verticutter before a battery mower.
I think we have a team meeting on Monday morning.
Yep. All right. Brian Della says, how do you decide when to phase out PGR in the late summer, early fall? Yeah, so whenever the grass begins slowing down, so I will still use growth regulator in September. October is when I tend to begin to stop using it, Brian. So it depends on where you're on the country. If you are in Florida, you can go much later in the season, but in Georgia, I find shutting it down in October tends to work pretty well. It's all based on temperature and how the grass is growing later on in the season. So depending on how that is, that's when you would begin shutting down using growth regulator. There's not like any particular. There's not like a key metric you can use to time it, like say pre-emergent application. It's going to vary based on where you are in the country. Let's see here. James Smith says, Lee, with a blade reel swap option coming, has anything been looked for reel to bed knife alignment tool options?
So reading that ahead, trying to think about it. With every Revolution, something we have in stock, we have a T tool. It makes it really easy to adjust the reel to bed knife. So adjusting is very simple. When I think of anything looked at for tool options, I immediately started to go to like a gap or a feeler gauge. Maybe that's something that we could offer and come up with a locked in number. I think they do that a lot with the greens mowers. Tell me if I'm wrong, Ron. But a lot of the grinding shops and folks, we use a feeler gauge, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically small little pieces of metal that are precisely notated how thick they are, and you would set your reel to bed knife based off of a certain gap between the reel to bed knife. Ron, you're probably more familiar with that than I am because I just don't have a lot of greens mower experience.
Yeah, and it's important to have that set up properly, James, because what will happen is if you don't, you will tend to start getting coning. Like the reel will be, I mean, say we're talking about thousands here, but it'll be slightly bigger on one end than the other end, and then you have to grind to get that all cleared up. So managing reel to bed knife tolerance across the entire cutting surface is pretty important, and a feeler gauge is a great way to do it. As far as a tool goes, I can't think of a tool other than a feeler gauge. It's really going to be your best bet, so hopefully that helps, sir. Next up is Rashid Turner. Says, Lee, given the legacy of your competitors and the newness of the 26, what has been the biggest market challenge to overcome to break into the market? What has been the strategy?
Good questions. I don't think breaking into the market was really difficult for us, only because we've been in this market for a long time. I think one of the advantages, or I don't know if you want to call it a strategy, won't share too much about what our strategies are because I'm sure others will be watching, like my
No.
competitors. But that being said, I think one of the core advantages that Real Rollers has over anyone else in the market is that we're serving and fulfilling the reel mower space across every brand. So even though we launched the Revolution, our company's been around for 13 years, serving True Cut, Trimmer, Swordman, McLean owners with rollers, how to cut stickers, backlap adapters, parts. So ironically, one of the things I think that's been part of our success is that regardless of the brand of reel mower that you use or prefer, so long as it's a homeowner model, not a greens mower, we're the ones that really have the parts for you to help you get those parts at an affordable price. As I mentioned earlier, nothing's drop shipped, so you get them super quick. And I think us being I guess, a brand in the reel mower space for homeowners made launching the Revolution not only, I want to say easy, but easy to get out there, but also a good strategy because, it filled a need. We really never intended on making a lawnmower. There's some events in the market that caused us to want to look at it heavily, mainly to do with True Cut and some of the things that's happened with their manufacturing. We saw that there was an opportunity and there was a real need to fill a space for a lot of our landscapers here in the Atlanta area and across the country. That's another thing that we really haven't talked about, but one of the reasons we want to focus on having multiple real assemblies available is also to feed that landscaper market. Instead of them having to have 3 or 4 full machines as backups because something could go wrong with one of their landscapers hitting concrete or hitting a manhole or whatever they might hit, a reel going dull, they would only have to have a real assembly in the truck. And literally within about 15 minutes, his guys can be, or his or her crew can be back to work mowing yards because time is money for those guys. So that was probably why the reel assembly was one of our leading accessories that we're going to roll out, is to fill that landscaper market as well as a homeowner market for those folks that aren't close to shops. As far as our strategy, our goal is just to treat people the way we want to be treated. And really, our niche market is really ourselves. Everybody that works here loves reel mowing. They're homeowners that have owned reel mowers before they ever worked here. So it really comes natural for us to just really think about how we want to be marketed ourselves and make sure we do that to our customers.
Nice. Yep. Yep. If you're good, product sells itself, right? So, all right. Next up is we have Jimmy Miller. It says, Lee, think of tonight as your users taking your cap off and slapping you upside the head, telling you want the Revolution 26 as a cartridge system. I mean, here's the thing though. If you, I mean, not that, I mean, I'm not the one that has to make it happen, and it's not my money or time that has to go out developing it. But realistically, a cartridge system reel mower, what you're looking at is like, minimum like $3,500 for the mower, and then each cartridge is going to be, I mean, if they can do them really cheaply, $750 to $1,000 each. So you're talking like easily $5,000 to $6,000. So you have to really ask yourself. I mean, it's the one thing to say you want that, but it's not an inexpensive thing to do. It's like cartridge systems are not easy to do well, but then even if you could like Thanos snap and everything where, you had one, it's still not going to be cheap. So that's something you have to really, you have to keep in mind as well too.
we have access to market data,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of market data. And the cartridge system mowers are not outselling real mowers by far in the residential market. When you think about the volume and the quantity, the McLeans, the legacy traditional trimmer, the Revolutions, the True Cuts, the Roluxes, those are still far outpacing the Swordmans and Alettes for the residential market when it comes to volume. So I do hear it. I do think this group is spot on. We definitely want to pursue everything that the market wants, but still, those other mowers come with a higher price point too. I mean, I was just looking at the Swordman website because I think they're launching a new mower. I think they're launching a 94, 95 centimeter mower. I don't know. It's one of the bigger ones. Their CEO just reached out to us earlier this week, but I was looking at their mowers, and their 22-inch Swordman starts off at 3,500, and you haven't even bought a cartridge yet. I mean, same with Allet. You're really getting into that expensive price point, and there's a balance of making a affordable product and making a great product. And you got to find that balance. And I don't know if there's a way to make a cartridge system that's truly affordable and truly high quality and durable. But we're going to look at it, no doubt.
Nice. Ryan Contento says, "Happy Friday, fellows." Appreciate that, Ryan. He says, "Tuning in late will catch the full thing on the replay, but I know at least 20 of you haven't liked the stream yet." That is true. You are absolutely right, Ryan. You're on point. We are a little bit light on the like, so if you guys have not hit the like button, please do so. It costs absolutely nothing. It's a free way to support the channel. And then next up is Michael Raymond. I think Lee's already answered this, but in case he hasn't, or you guys missed it, he says, "Any update on increasing the blade count on the Revolution 26 in future years?"
Yes, we will be launching a 10 blade. Just to reiterate something that we talked about last time I was on the live stream, although the Revolution is a 6 blade, I want to be clear, all 6 blades aren't created equal, or all real blades aren't created equal. So I think, this group's highly educated, it seems like, on not only their lawns, but mowers. But really what's important is the frequency of cut. That's what the game comes down to. So that can be manipulated through engine RPM, sprocket sizes, ground speed. And the reason I say that is our 6 blade reel acts more like what you would find as a traditional 8 blade true cut. Number one, the True Cut trimmer and the McLeans have a 7-inch diameter reel. So that's 7 blades on a 7-inch diameter reel. Our 6 blade reel is actually on a 6-inch diameter reel. So automatically, without factoring or changing anything else, because it's on a smaller diameter reel, you're getting a higher frequency of cut, which when you do the apples and the math, comes out to an 8 blade True Cut mower. So when you think about a 10 blade that we're going to launch, and you start to see some of the things that Rolex has done with these 12 blades, and the downside of having too many blades is that if you go away on a vacation, if you get away from mowing every 2 to 3 days, the mower will bind up when you're trying to cut off too much grass, or it will skip cutting grass if it's too long. So, we really are trying to find that blade count and that frequency of cut that put us between a 1/2 inch and 1 inch as our optimal range. So with the Revolution, based off the math, the engine we have on it and its RPMs, and then also the sprocket sizes that we use with the chains, the gearing, let's say, and then the blade count and the blade diameter, and then ground speed, 5/8 is the mathematical perfect cut for the Revolution 26. But what that means is you have a range of about 3/4 of an inch or even a 1/2 inch of a super great cut. So, our sweet spot's that 1/2 inch to 1 inch range. Although we can go down as low as an 1/8 of an inch, we only advertise it as a 1/4 of an inch, because if you're getting down to an 1/8 of an inch, I truly believe you need a greens mower. If you really want to consistently maintain a putting green or something like that. We can't be everything to everyone, so we really want to be great at who we can be designing this mower for. So we will launch the 10 blade, but I really don't know how necessary it is, because we cut our turf park down to 3/8 of an inch several times throughout the year, and it has a tremendous cut. So I just don't know what that 10 blade will do to get you an even better or lower cut. But we're going to launch one because the market, like this verticutter thing, they're asking for it. So if you want it, we're going to make it.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right. Next up, Mark Tento says, "Maybe a nice 3 to 4 hour stream this week." Man, listen, we get Lee on here a couple times a year. This is not the week for a 3-hour stream. He's going to be like, "Man, I'm never coming back. You guys are crazy." All right. Next up, we have Steve. He says residential riding mower, 1 acre of Bermuda exhausting with a 20-inch reel mower. Yeah, uh, I mean, if I had an acre of Bermuda, I would not reel mow all of it. I'd maybe pick 15,000, less than 20,000 square feet of it and mow that, or probably less, but keep that looking really nice near the house. And the rest of it, I would use a zero turn like what you're talking about. There's no way I'm push real mowing an acre.
See, to me, those types of ideas like Steve has, those are exciting. Like that gets me, that'll keep me up all night. Thanks, Steve. My brain's gonna be racing because I have heard from a lot of customers who want to see something affordable in the triplex range. Basically taking yourself a Craftsman riding mower and basically have bat wings on it with a reel in the middle and a reel on each side that's maybe 26 inches or 30 inches, and put that thing at a price point in that 5,000 to 7,500 range. I mean, of course, it's going to be more expensive because it's going to cost more. But I do think that there might even be a fun market out there for something like that if you can get a price point that makes sense for some of these bigger yards. Because we have plenty of folks that have 20,000 to 30,000 square feet that are real mowing. And it can be a little tiring, I bet, at times.
Nice.
Or the other thing is what TrueCut did. Maybe we make a sulky. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with what the sulky is, but it's basically like a little chariot seat that sits behind the mower and the mower pulls you around. So you're not walking it. You're literally riding on it almost like a chariot with a horse. TrueCut launched one of those back in the day. It's called a sulky. It's pretty cool. So maybe that's something we do. Maybe it's not as wide, but at least you get to ride on something.
That's true. I've always wondered how well those work. So I've never actually ridden in one. I always wondered if the mower really
We
has
had
enough
one.
power to pull
It
you.
worked great. It was
Okay.
great. It did it. The TrueCut. Andrew used to ride around the parking lot on it. It was great.
Nice. All right, RV question says, who are you guys voting for this year for president? Clearly Bermuda grass. Clearly. I mean, Lee's probably Zoysia, but I mean, he's not, I don't think he knows all the facts. I don't think he's done the research. I don't think he's really an informed voter, but I think if you're informed, you have to go with Bermuda. That's my thoughts.
You jump on that one.
All right, Greg Lyon is up next. He says, for Lee, how long does the backlapping material last? Does it expire after a while?
I love that every time any of us write the word backlap, it always comes to backslapping because of autocorrect. So you see his
Backslapping
yeah,
material.
you see that on Facebook all the time. But anyway, usually, well, I can tell you this: we back our backlapping compound for 12 months. Usually, after 12 months, you'll start to see some separation, or you can, between the material. Other companies, I don't warranty it at all. They say once you buy it, it's yours, and they don't warranty you not 30 days, not 90 days, nothing. When you look at their warranty policy, but usually 12 months, which is why we offer that 1 pound can for a season. Anything longer than 12 months, it will last, but it's really no guarantees. It really depends on humidity, exposure to funguses, or when you take that brush and you expose it to the reel and you re-dip that brush back in there, there's actually organisms that can get into the compound. I've learned this the hard way. That can actually help almost make it stale, and it has an awful smell to it, and the actual compound starts to separate from a liquid and a solid, and you can't shake it and get it back together. Once it separates, it's separated, and you kind of have to throw it away. So you really bank on 12 months. We recommend 1 pound per season
Gotcha. 1 pound per season. That makes
for
sense.
homeowners.
Cool. Great question. Greg says, vote Pedro. Vote for Pedro. Yeah, Napoleon Diamond. You can't go wrong. Vote for Pedro either. Let's see here. Next up is Pro Ultra 750. He says, when's the Revolution 20 coming out?
Nice.
That's a
It
good
should
question.
be, the goal is to launch it in November. The goal will be launched in November or December. So we're not too far away. And then hopefully have them here in the States January.
Nice. Very, very cool.
It's designed. We're just waiting for ours to get airshipped over here to start playing with it.
Very cool. Well, if you need someone to beat on one, play, I know a guy who's,
You'll definitely be part of it.
right. Just as long as it has the heavy front roller, don't lose the front roller. That front roller is money, man.
It'll be identical, and many of the parts are the same. It's just taking 6 inches.
It's smaller.
One thing we need to look at is the engine placement. Yep, just a little bit smaller.
Cool. All right. Next up is RV8. It says, hey Lee, when adjusting the reel to bed knife, does it need to barely touch?
In a dream world, it doesn't have to touch at all. It really depends on how sharp your bed knife and your reel are. So if it's going to cut index card or business card or paper, without contact, run with that because that's the least amount of wear you'll put on your machine, not only on the gears and the bearings, but also on the sharpness of your edge. So you really have to adjust it. I see myself having to adjust it a little bit tighter as the season goes on. And then once I get a good back lap on it, I tend to be able to back it off a little bit more and have almost no contact or no contact. And then, over time, I'll adjust it. But I only adjust my reel when I notice a change in my cut. I don't adjust it every single time I mow because I find that if I do that, I tend to over tighten things too much too soon. So grass is pretty easy to cut for the most part. It also depends on the grass type. I want to back up because a Xeon zoysia is probably the most difficult grass to cut consistently. It's such a fine blade. You really have to have a much tighter reel to bed knife setup for Xeon zoysia and a consistent clean cut than say my Empire zoysia, which is a really fat blade like St. Augustine. I could have almost a quarter of an inch of a gap and it would have a clean cut. It's just a different breed. So I think it really depends on your grass type too.
Right. Nice. All right. Brett May says, Ron, need to apply Celiprin. Spray is easier for me to apply. Is there a difference between the granular versus the liquid? So as far as effectiveness, no, they're both equally effective. I like the liquid, given the choice between the two, more than the granular, because it's easier to change the application rate. And also if you're applying anything else along with a Celiprin, it's much more convenient to do so with liquid. You can't really do that if you go with the granular. So as far as effectiveness goes, same. As far as coverage goes, pretty much the same. I think it's like 22,000 square feet for the liquid and 21 something for the granular. So they're effectively the same. But the liquid, again, just gives you, like all liquid products, gives you more control more easily over application rate. And if you're trying to mix other products and spray at the same time, that is far easier to do with liquids, not really a thing with granular. So pick whichever one you prefer. A Celiprin SC is my preference and go with that. All right, next up is James Smith. He says, Lee, great team at the shop. Always great talking to Isaac and your bro. I have to call it a night. Long trail run in the morning. Let's get the likes up. We all know Ron sleeps better at night. So true, James. Be safe out there while you're running the trails. Have a good time.
Appreciate that. We have an awesome team. Isaac, Hayes, Cooper, Ashley, Matt. I mean, all these guys and girls are just truly amazing. I mean, they give their heart to the customers. They would treat people so respectfully, and they really want to truly help. And they have a passion to do this. It wasn't like they just wanted a job. They truly, I mean, I look at Isaac. Isaac was a customer of mine for 4 years in Augusta, and he just happened to move back to our town and stop by the shop to say hello. And I was like, hey, we're about to launch a mower. I could use somebody that has the same passion for turf that I have. And it just worked out perfect timing for him. So, I appreciate what you're saying because those guys mean the world to me. They're everything.
Nice. Greg Foma. He says, hey, Ron, it's been a while. It has been a while. I remember your face. It has been a while since you've been on the live stream. Just listening to you from our room down in Cancun. Subtle flex right there. Before we go off to dinner, I'm in Avon, Indiana with 80,000 square foot yard. Got Artemis to overseed. Does frost seeding really work? So here's the thing, Greg. I have to admit, I don't know what frost seeding is. I imagine you're seeding when it's snowing outside. I don't know. I can't answer that one. Lee, you ever heard of frost seeding?
I have actually. I've seen it done on some YouTube channels. Not to mention, but Ryan Nord has a video on it that he did out there in Iowa with some success. So I've never done it, but I've seen his video on it, just being a troll that I am, checking out other people's channels and seeing how things are going and learning that he does frost seeding with his rye. So it's something you may want to look at. Or his Kentucky bluegrass. I can't remember which it was, but he did a couple of videos on it. So you may want to check those out.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Not my jam, Greg. So check it out. Someone else that actually has done that. All right, RB18 says, "Hey Ron, when is your last fertilizer after prevent spring dead spots?" So for granular, September will likely be my last. Well, let's just say this: September will be my last full rate application of Humic Max. In October, I will switch to the 12024, and that's going to be it for the season. So October is the last time I put any kind of granular fertilizer on my lawn. And again, as that has worked well for me over the past 3 years now for keeping spring dead spot away. So I'd say October would be the last time for me in Northeast Georgia that I would want to put any kind of granular inputs as far as fertilizer into my lawn, and that's worked well. All right. Jimmy Miller says, Lee, if the cartridge system would be money, could a verticutter reel be added to the present Revolution 26 similar to the additional reels you will offer soon?
I think so. I know so. It's going to take some engineering, but definitely something we're going to be looking at starting Monday.
Nice. So you guys warm down. You see where this is how shifts in business models happen.
Yeah.
You
It
gotta get
went
ahead of
from
it,
what,
Lee.
2026 to
Yeah, 2026
Monday.
to like next week, right? You gotta get ahead of it, man. All
That's
the
great.
competitors are watching this. They're gonna start verticutting. We got to get on that, guys. It's just gonna happen. All right. Tillman Walter says, Ron, what's good to treat lawn fungus? Yeah, so I would say a fungicide is good for treating lawn diseases. Your options, two options that I like are Headway G if you prefer a granular fungicide. If you prefer a liquid fungicide, then Pillar SC is an excellent choice. We sell both these on the Golf Course Lawn Store. The nice thing about Pillar, when it comes to mixing it, it's really easy. There's just one application rate. It's 1 ounce with a gallon of water over 1,000 square feet. So 1 ounce per 1,000 square feet. You can mix it with 1 gallon of water, with 2 gallons of water. You can dilute it depending on what's better for you. But 1 ounce per 1,000 is the application rate, and it works well. And then for Headway, it's around 2 pounds per 1,000 is what I typically apply it at. But it depends on the disease you're dealing with. So that's one advantage again to Pillar, in that there's just really one rate for everything. With Headway, it does vary based on what you've got going on in your lawn. So what I'll do for you, Tillman, is a link here in the chat where you can pick up either Headway or Pillar SC. And if you need anything else, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Appreciate the question. All right. Next up, we have Brett May. He says, Lee, thanks for all the great information and explaining the why behind the design of the Revolution 26. I got to tell you guys, like, not that I had any kind of hand in the Revolution, but I'll tell you, getting to see the mower being built or it coming together was really cool. I remember when he showed me the grooved roller and how heavy it was. He's like, man, it's too heavy. I'm like, man, it's perfect. Are you kidding? This is a thing of beauty. It's worked out really well, because that fixes a problem that you find in a lot of mowers at this price point, that they tend to be too back heavy. That heavy front roller just lets the mower just ride on the turf like a greens mower. And it seems like a simple thing, but it really makes a huge difference in the way that mower cuts. So really glad.
Well, the people, I mean, don't cut yourself short. Like, I vividly remember you being out here a lot, helping me out with testing stuff and giving a lot of opinions on things, which was very, very helpful. I mean, Ron's been, a friend for 3 or 4 years now. It seems like yesterday, but you were part of a lot of this stuff in a sense of giving me feedback, providing a different perspective. And I really appreciate that as we went through that journey, because it was a lot of fun. I can think of you and I sitting out there with several brands of mowers, trying to figure out, almost closing our eyes on mowing and being like, hey, do you like the feel of this or that? It was cool. It was a cool experience.
Yeah.
So thank you for all your help.
No mention. I mean, I'm glad the way it came together. Mower's pretty awesome, and it's gotten better and better. All the refinement, even from like last year to spring when it was launched to everybody. There's a lot of tweaks you guys made that just made it that much better. Like the zero edge. Like, I love mowing the fence line with the Revolution. That right side of the mower, you can get. I mean, when I'm out there with like a string trimmer or rotary scissors, I'm not having to clean up very much. I mean, that mower can get right up against the edge and cuts great. So it's awesome design. It's a small thing that really makes a big difference in the amount of cleanup work you have to do after you're done mowing your lawn. All right, the Crazy Lawn Guy says, I'm trying to get to the turf party. I had 21 Pilots concert in Raleigh the night before. I mean, 21 Pilots have been around for a while. You got the CD, you got the album. I mean, now if you told me, hey, listen, I got this opportunity to go mow grass on a golf course, or, I mean, I could say, you know what, I get it. I get it. But like 21 Pilots versus like hanging out with us, that's easy, I think.
It's not the day of the turf party. He's going to have so much fun that the day after he's just canceling.
That's right.
He's just Xing out the next day.
Yep. Abraham Soda, you got your first customer, Lee. He says, sign me up for the triplex when I work. Where can I pre-order? Ron and Lee, thank you for all you do to the community. I've learned a lot from you guys. You guys have no idea the like all the wheels that are turning
Yeah, absolutely.
because of
We're
this
trying
channel.
to figure out what color it's going to be.
Black and red. Got to go black and red. Bulldog colors.
Too hot. No, I'm with you. It's fun. That'll be a fun one.
All right, Greg. Ted Rogers says, Greg, I have Artemis as well. Hit the like button if you haven't already. And he's, I think he's really a verticutter. Right, you are correct. Let's see here. Archie Amos says, I added a little water to mine. Seemed to work fine. Mistake? I'm not sure what the question was, Archie.
No.
Yeah, I know. I'll have to look at it. All right. We are winding down. It says, okay, Gary Kell says, okay, Lee, I know you're a real mower guy, but if you had to buy a rotary, hypothetically, alternate universe, you got to buy a rotary mower. Which one?
You know, I just received in the mail a Rotorola from Massport. So, Ronnie, you saw that when you came by, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's nice.
So I think if I was to own a rotary mower and that was my go-to, that's probably the one I'd want to go with. Only because there's really three reasons why. One, it cuts down to 3/4 of an inch, so it cuts lower than any other rotary mower out there, really. Two, it has little flail blades underneath it, so it's not like your traditional single long 21-inch blade. It has these little 6-inch blades and has 4 of them. So that they are breakaway too. So if you hit something, they kind of snap back. I think of them looking at like a edger blade almost in your mind if you're trying to visualize the size of them. And they're really easy to swap out and put new ones on. And then lastly, it's got a rear drum in the back. I still, for the life of me, don't know why a rotary mower doesn't have a roller on the front or why no one has tried to. I don't know if it'd be any good, but I'm just curious why no one has done that. But this one has a roller in the back drum and at least some killer stripes. So I do love that particular rotary mower myself. So yeah,
Nice.
that'd be the one I go with.
Very cool. So we have Ted Rogers says, Ron, should I put down some fungicide when I do an overseed next month? Not strictly necessary. I mean, if you have a disease problem in your lawn, you want to put out a fungicide, or it's the time of year when you normally do it to put out a fungicide, that'd be okay. But as far as like tying fungicide application to overseeding, I don't think it's strictly necessary. Sorry, I missed your question there, Ted. And the next up, Darren says, I am from Southern Maryland. I knew it was either Maryland or Virginia, but Maryland makes sense. Okay. Cool. Jimmy Miller says, I noticed Lawn Dad has taken down his video on backlapping the Revolution 26. Has something happened that changed the way the Revolution 26 was or needed to be backlapped?
Good question. First off, no, but one of the things that created a concern off the video, and I asked him just to take it down, was in his video, he was leaning the mower back pretty significantly. And folks, it was almost mid-June. We, in 1 week, had about 10 calls of the mowers hydrolocking. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what that is, it's if you take any regular engine, small engine, and you lean it back too far without shutting the fuel off for too long, you can create what's called a hydrolock, and that's where you go to pull the start cord, and it won't pull. And what you have to do is remove the spark plug, and it's where the oil and the gas has mixed, and it's basically creates what they call a hydrolock. So instead of him trying to edit that video, we decided to make our own video just reminding folks that you shouldn't lay a real mower, back on its handlebars to really do anything for any long period of time. So it was more of a watch out than anything else. But that goes for every real mower, not the Revolution only. It's for a True Cut, a Trimmer, a McLean. For any mower, you shouldn't lay them back on their handlebars for an extended period of time because the fluids start to mix up and you get oil in the air filter. It's a mess. All fixable, doesn't ruin the mower, but makes it smoke like hell once you get it started and get the hydrolock on. So we're just trying to avoid that problem. That's all.
And you guys have that, what's that thing you guys have? The kickstand, right? To put the
Yeah, the sidekick. So we have a mower stand that holds the mower at about less than 45 degrees. Gives it easy access to check the reel to bed knife, and also perfect for accessing those things as well. But when you backlap, it was something that we put in our video. People didn't realize this, but you really should be backlapping with your mower flat. And the reason being is the mower, like the Revolution, actually has a reservoir behind the bed knife faceplate where the compound sits. And if you have the mower lean back, the compound's constantly falling away from that reservoir so that when you spin the reel, it's not scooping up the compound and sharpening the reel as well. So you really should be backlapping completely level when you actually do the backlapping process.
Nice. Good. Cool tip. Let's see here. Jimmy Miller says, sorry if I missed it, but who services and sharpens Revolution for us Texas folks? I have a Greensmaster 1000 and have gone through hell trying to get it sharpened in San Antonio.
Anyone that sharpens a McLean, a trimmer, or a True Cut, the Revolution is identical as far as the relief grind and the bed knife, as they same process and everything they would do. But we're actually going to open up the ability for folks if they want to ship us reels. We've done that before with other mowers, so that you can actually, once we launch our second reel assembly, you'll start to see that we're able to swap reels out. So you can ship the reel, we'll get it ground out or backlapped and sent back to you, and you can either have a backlap reel in the meantime, or if you do it during the off season, we can get back to you in about 2 weeks. But from a price perspective and a convenience perspective, we've dialed this thing in. We've gotten this down to a science that we did it with Swordman. We were doing about 600 reels a year, shipping them to people because we were in 49 states with that mower. So with the Revolution, that would be our first major project that we're going to be launching this winter, is your ability to ship a reel in protective foam, making sure it's safe. You receive the return label, you receive everything. So virtually all you have to do is drop it out a local UPS or FedEx place and it's gone.
Nice.
So
All right.
Jimmy, hopefully we can take care of you that way.
Nice, Jimmy. So you'll be able to send it in. Kind of cool. Jim Schmidt says, Ron, when do you start shutting down your liquid program of 2022-3 and micronutrients? Same thing, October timeframe is when that would happen. Do you let it run the same course as your granular spoon feeding timeline? I do, Jim. Yep. October is when I wean the lawn off of nutrient inputs. All right, Progression Decibel is up next. He says, join the chat late. When's a turf party? I'm next door and coming and would like to stop by. I'm a Real Rotor customer, hoping to offload my McLean for Revolution 26 next season. I'm the only reeler on my block. So when is it? That's a good question. When is it again, Lee?
So the turf party is on Saturday, September 14th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. So it'll be here, obviously, at Real Rollers in Buford, Georgia. And your comment about being the only reeler on the block, that might be the most gratifying thing that we get to do is when we go through neighborhoods, and you guys probably do it as well, it's so cool to be able to drive through a neighborhood and you can immediately tell which yards are using a real mower. I mean, the question doesn't have to be asked. And it's kind of cool when I'm taking a mower to someone, and let's say they already have a real mower and we're delivering a Revolution to them. It's fun to not even look at what their street address number is and just see if you can find it by driving down the street and seeing which one has a real mowed yard. It stands out like a sore thumb. It's great.
Oh, definitely. I mean, yeah, you're driving by, you see, and because it happens in my neighborhood, there's a couple people that have real mowers, and some of them I don't even know their name, but I'll be driving by, and I'll walk by, and I'll pause, and look at them, look at me, we'll change the look, and I'll just be like, job. You know, it's like it's a sign of respect. You know what I mean? Like everything is exchanged in that nod. Where he knows
it's all said.
Yeah, nothing else to be said, right? Just roll on. Like, I salute you, sir.
Yes.
All right. Next up, we have Stephen Thompson. He says, happy Friday, fellas. It seems like adjusting the reel to bed knife clearance every 2 to 3 mows, 5 to 8,000 square feet, pretty normal. 21 hours on this beautiful machine. Every 2 3 mows.
Definitely not normal. Shoot us an email. Sounds like maybe sounds like maybe one of the nylon nuts may not be maybe bad. It's super easy to change out, but that's what holds the reel to bed knife. You shouldn't have to adjust it. It shouldn't be changing at all, to be honest with you. Only changes that should happen to the reel to bed knife is ones that you do. So shoot us an email, Stephen. We'll get you taken care of. Easy peasy.
Nice. All right, Progression Decibel is back. His Ron, my Bermuda has been nice and green all summer, but for some reason my front walkway is turning pale and thin in a 5x5 area. I water regularly, thinking I might have a disease or insect issue. Possible, or there could be something there. There could be some like material or debris or something underneath the lawn. I mean, if it's because remember too, Progression Decibel, this is a hot time of year. It's hot and it's been dry, and if there's some weak areas of your soil due to some debris near the surface or something else going on, like that's really going to expose it and you're going to see it. It could be a disease problem. It could be an insect issue, or it could just be dry. It could be like localized dry spot. Then it's a simple answer, but not every discoloration in the lawn is necessarily due to insect damage or a disease. So what I might try is doing some localized watering to just that area and see if that helps bring it back. Do the screwdriver test, make sure there's no debris under the lawn, like near the surface, and just see, just kind of eliminate, go through a process of elimination before we get out there and throw fungicide or insecticides at it.
And if
All
you've
right.
been there a while, you would know if that's an annual thing. If
Yeah.
he's lived in that house 3 or 4 years and it's never been that way in that area, then I would be a little more concerned and think
Yes.
it's maybe a fungus or insect.
But if it's every year around, like at some point during
Yeah,
the summer, this is a problem area. There's a reason why, and it could be,
it's already
again,
there.
localized dry spot. This doesn't hold water as well as other parts of the lawn. Could be a bunch of different things. All right. Kind of winding down. He says, Lee, good answer. I'd love to set up a meeting between you and my former founder at a certain restaurant chain. All startup issues we faced with this company were very similar. Let's see
So cool, the
here.
people we get to meet.
Yeah. He said the
Yeah,
the
some really
mass
great people.
roller motor
Gas
is a
roller.
1600 push mower. There's a video comparing it online to the Honda. Yeah. So Toro makes one too. I forget what it's called, but it's a rear drum and two wheels in the front, and it's similar like Owlet has one as well too. I forget what they call theirs, but it's a really cool looking mower. Like when Lee showed me that, I was like, oh man, this is pretty cool. Like I could run
I
one of
think
those.
what's different about the Massport Motorola though is unlike anybody else's, it's actually self-propelled. Everybody else has a push version. And if things go the way I hope, you'll see a price point much lower than $1,600 for that roller.
I think it's still a bargain at that price point. I think it's a good deal for that.
You can like 1,000, 1050. That's right.
1050. All right. All right. Progression Decibel. My final question, Lee. Sorry for redundantly asked. Will the Revolution 26 be discounted at all around Black Friday, Christmas, the start of 25? Any discounts?
No, I'll be honest. There won't be. Full disclosure. We only have 40 mowers left on the shelves right now, and we're a little concerned about that. We have another container arriving in mid-November. So fortunately, a good problem. They've been selling pretty fast, and we've had to the point where you start to scratch your head and say, "Are we selling it too low?" But we won't change that. The reality of it is, we won't have a sale on that. But I do believe I really like the way that the launch went with the 26. So for those people that are interested in the 20-inch model, I believe there'll probably be some kind of launch type of discount like we did with the Revolution 26 last year. So I think on the 20 inches, we're going to go ahead and put a discount for pre-orders like we did with the 26 because that was really a tremendous success. And it gives everybody an opportunity to be guaranteed a mower before the season. So I think that's what you'll see this fall or around, Black Friday or November. I think we'll have something like that, maybe a cool Christmas present kind of thing.
Nice. Very cool. All right. We're writing down here. Rad 1986 says, Ron, just joined the chat with scalping my Kentucky bluegrass from 1.5 inches to ½ inch so I can level tomorrow. Please tell me it will be okay. I'm entering a period of stress here. I'm stressed seeing my lawn so beat up. It's gonna be fine, man. I mean, it's grass. It'll be okay. You scalped it. I mean, that's a big kind of cut change, but it's gonna be fine because you're not gonna see the ugliness because you're just gonna be covered in sand and compost here this weekend anyway. So don't sweat it. It's gonna be fine. It's grass. It'll bounce back. Fair not. And then our last question of the evening says, "Hey Lee, what do you recommend for throttle speed? Does half throttle affect real speed / cut?" That's a good question.
Good question. Hey, Jason. No, it doesn't. I usually run our mowers at half throttle, and the reason it doesn't impact anything is everything's linear and connected. So at 1,000 RPMs, the reel slows down, but so does your ground speed. At 3,000 RPMs, the reel speed speeds up, but so does your ground speed. So that ratio, due to the sprocket sizes and the chains, all stays in line with the throttle speed. So I personally usually mow at half throttle because that top speed at half throttle is the pace that I want to walk. Sometimes we find people going full throttle because they think they need to, or that's what you do with a rotary mower. But you end up bouncing the mowers a lot and you start going almost too fast where you don't get as good of a cut with any real mower. So for me, and depending on what's comfortable, I usually set my throttle to the fastest I want to walk. when I'm wide open on a straightaway. And for me, that's about half throttle.
Nice. All right, last question in the evening before we shut it down. Mr. Greg Lyon, he says, when washing down my McLean, should I stay away from the chain so it doesn't rust? I mean, you use like a chain lube or something on it, it should be okay. But go ahead. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
would spray it, and I'd use a dry chain lube personally. And chains are pretty resilient. I mean, they are chains. Well, it may take 6 months off its life, maybe, but they should last you several years. So, and also a lot of the gunk and debris tends to build up on the chains because they have grease on them. So maybe every once in a while it's okay to give them a quick, rinse off, hit them with the backpack blower so it dries off the most you can, and then reapply some lubrication on them. I wouldn't avoid it too much.
Cool. All right. Greg says, I've used Advion 3 times how to get rid of fire ants, but they seem to kink is a nice stack. What else should I use? I'm not sure, man. I've never had an issue where Advion didn't take care of fire ants, Greg. Are you sure that you have fire ants? Because Advion is designed for, I think it's pharaoh ants and fire ants. If you have like non-fire ants, you need to use Advion insecticide because and I think this is terrible naming by Syngenta. I'm not sure why they did this, but but Advion, there's 2 different products, or there's more than 2 products. But when it comes to insecticides, there's Advion Fire Ant Bait, which is really for fire ants, and there's Advion Insecticide, which will control the other ants that are not fire ants. So if you don't have fire ants, don't use Advion Fire Ant Bait. Use the other Advion Insecticide. So I think that is about it. I think we'll give you this last question. This is one for Lise. Is having stone landscape beds at the border of my lawn a bad idea when investing in a reel mower? I'm worried if I were to hit a rock that isn't seen, it could destroy the reel. I think you'd be careful. But go ahead, Lee. What are your thoughts?
I don't like it. I'll be honest. It seems pretty risky.
Yeah. So there you go. So if you are going to
That's
do
just
it,
me.
if you're going to do it, be careful. All right, guys, gals, on that note, we will cue the outro music. Lee, thank you again so much, man, for taking the time out of your Friday night to come and hang out on the live stream, answer tons of questions. And again, the Turf Park Party is September 14th. When should folks show up? Mike, hang on. Go ahead.
So you're going to be there, of course, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you even said that. So Ron will be there, of course. So folks should be there at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock on Saturday, September 14th. Lots of fun, little music, football, food, drinks, lots of reel mowers, and lots of people with the same passion. Feel free. Last year, I know there were kids, there were spouses, there was all sorts of people there. It was a great time. People came as far as, we had a guy come from Memphis, Tennessee, and some folks who came down from Indiana. It was wild. It's pretty cool. So
and
everybody's
Mississippi.
welcome. Yeah. Mississippi. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Crazy. So yeah, looking forward to it. And thank you guys. Great questions. Ron, thank you for everything. I love learning from you. You've taught me so much as it relates to the chemical side of things and reel mowing and everything else. So I really do appreciate it. It's a great friendship that we have. It's sharing the same passion, and we've always had that. So that's cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, guys, again, if you have any questions about the Revolution 26 outside of what's been discussed tonight, reach out to the team at Real Rollers to get you squared away. He said he has like 40 mowers left between now and November, so if you want one, I wouldn't wait. And again, hopefully looking forward to seeing a lot of you guys at the Turf Park Party less than a month from now. It'd be cool to put a name with the face. And yeah, it should be a great time. So again, get out there, do something fun on your lawn, get out and mow, have fun. We've got, as far as your insecticides, fungicides, pre-emergents that are important for this time of year at the Golf Course Lawn Store, we got them all in stock and shipping quickly. So we would really appreciate the opportunity to win your business and support. So feel free to support us that way if you guys see fit. Again, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you guys. Have an amazing weekend. Take care.